All right, check, check. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
All right. Well, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Fans Union for the fans by the fans. Kicking off the show, we've been talking mess about doing this for quite a while, so uh, got a little bit later start than we wanted to, but hey, we're here. Our presence is a present. Deal with it. Um, and for those of you who don't know, we're gonna be making updates on Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. But we're here to talk football, here to talk the biggest moments, stories, games, college football, NFL. We're gonna do a little bit of a matchup today. It's gonna be a little bit different, but we're kind of just filling it out. Um, as you can see, I got three lovely looking gentlemen with me. In the whichever way you're looking at it, I'm not sure. We got the good brother Logan in the bottom. Uh, Big Reb, Big Reb guy down there. I think he's a Falcons fan. I'm not really sure. Um,
We're rooting
that's
for the
what I
home
think.
team.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And then we
I like
got
that.
the good brother G, my brother Graham down there at RM7 on the gram.
Not too
Not
much,
too
not too
funny
heavy on
there.
the sauce, boss. But yeah, yeah, not too much in one episode. But yeah,
All
happy
right,
to be here, guys.
my fault. And
I'm
he's also a big dog fan, and he didn't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's a Jet fan. He kind of likes to keep that on the back burner sometimes.
getting
Um,
that out of the way early. I see. Okay.
and then we got my
It's
my
a pleasure to
lifelong.
be here with all the fellas, man. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this over the entire extended weekend. I'm sure most of us was able to have Monday off, hopefully. So, um, been buzzing to get on here with the guys. So, it's good, man. It's a great day to have a first day with the guys. So,
That's right,
it's
brother.
good.
It's time to let it rock. And
Yep.
then we, last but certainly not least, we got my lifelong brother in crime, Mr. Trip, who is also a dog and a Lions guy,
Let's go.
big Lions guy.
We'll explain that part later down the road, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
no lines, baby.
So that's right. All right. Well, we're gonna get going into the college portion a little bit. Guys, before anything, football season's here. That
Good luck to
agonizing,
that.
that agonizing. What is really 6 months, but feels like 6 years. Is finally here upon us, which we also gloriously celebrate. Um, had a big weekend for college football. Had all of our teams obviously played. Had some pretty marquee matchups. Whether or not they lived up to the hype of the game, if you will, we'll speak to later. But have a lot going on. But first, just want to talk about our teams a little bit. I'll start. When it comes to the dogs, these games, Logan. You guys play Georgia State. You understand it's
Tough game. Tough game.
yeah, right. Yeah, for like 12 minutes of it. Um, but
Not
me personally, obviously, I don't really care about the scoreboard in those kind of games. I want to see my team executing, just playing clean football more than anything. Playing assignment football, making tackles. Not playing with their food, if you will. And I really felt like I saw that. That extra, that extra punch that Zach Branch has given the Georgia offense, it makes me want to cry because I have not seen that in quite a while. It's like watching. I mean, Miko Hardman kind of comes to mind when I think of people who kind of had that, kind of that almost like a Tyreek Hill, like, oh my God, this guy can take it to the crib anytime he touches the football. So it was good to see that. But Graham, I'm not sure how much you got to watch of it, but just tell me kind of a little bit about what you saw and what excited you.
Yeah. I mean, excuse me. Yeah, and I mean, of course, just that natural excitement for um, the dogs getting back out there after I wouldn't say like a highly anticipated offseason as much as the last like 4 or 5 have been, uh, but anticipated in the sense of um, I don't think I've felt this excited about transfers as I have this year, as I have in any other year under Kirby's tenure. I'm really excited to see how the guys, of course, Branch and his brother, but of course Noah and the host of the other guys who came in through the portal this year. Um, Without getting into too much of it, I was really excited to see how those guys would come in and complement both sides of the ball. Was pleased with how the dogs looked on both sides of the ball, even though it was Marshall. Good to see a lot of the young cats get burned. I saw a lot of who I considered, I guess, third string guys get some decent touches in the first half. So I was pleased to see that. I think my guy Blackshear, the kid from Savannah, was able to get a catch early in the first half. So things like that, it's always good to see the offense hop out and work efficiently enough to get some of those young guys in when you're playing a team who, respectfully, we knew we were going to put that away in the first half. So good to see those guys to get in,
For sure. Trip, well, why don't you expound a little bit?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest points you made is, you don't want to look too deep into these games as far as a box score goes, but the execution being probably the most important. I think it was a lot of fun to watch Gunner this weekend. I know this isn't by any means one of the best defenses he'll see so far, but giving us that Stetson look behind center again has been fun to watch, dual threat back there, being able to bounce around the pocket. Really looked like that they formed this offense this year with Mike Bobo around Gunner and his legs. I mean, we saw some speed options. We saw a lot of read options, a lot of changes coming. I think one of the most exciting things for me was, like Graham said, seeing a lot of these young guys get some touches. I mean, this is a very young Georgia team that we've seen in comparison to past years. So a lot of guys are going to have to step up. I know one of the biggest question marks was definitely on the defense this year. But a stat that I saw that was surprising to me, that defense only let up 1 first down in 4 quarters. So I don't care who you're playing. That's an impressive stat. And that's with backups coming in the second half. So yeah, it definitely was a lot of fun to watch. I treat college football opening weekend like a family reunion. I sat down and watched it all.
Yeah,
day.
you ain't lying.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And Logan, I'm about to let you talk about the Rebels a little bit, but before that, I think that's kind of my favorite part too, is what you guys were saying, is seeing the young guys. I mean, I think while Kirby Smart has never won to, pull a Josh Heupel and play, these, mid-major teams and hang 85 on them. Like, that's never been his MO. But I like it being out of reach early enough to where I can see, the DeMello Jones going to get some reps. We saw a lot of Puglisi getting to rip the ball a lot. Which was common. I mean, we've always heard a lot about his arm, but I really enjoy that factor of it, of getting these guys out here getting reps. Because, I mean, especially, next man up is when you recruit like this, it's the next man up no matter what. You never know when your time's going to be called on. And better your first start being or your first reps being against Marshall than it is week 3 against Tennessee, when you're in your back's against the wall. That's kind of just my 2 piece from that. Logan, we hadn't heard your lovely voice yet.
All right, first off, before we get to Ole Miss, shout out to that boy, Justin Williams, lead Marshall in rushing. I'm just saying.
That's true, yeah.
Native, we got to represent the Paulding.
That's big time.
Alone.
That's big time.
Yeah.
Shouts to
Big
J.
time.
Dub.
He looks like he had a good basketball coach.
Hey, 2 good ones. 2 good ones. 2 good ones. Let's not leave out Andre.
That's
But no, it was cool seeing him on the field finally. He's bouncing around from Tennessee, Cal, kind of battled some injuries. It's dope to see the hometown kid, especially against Georgia. I'm sorry, it was against Georgia because it's Georgia. Kirby Smart's defense is crazy. But it was cool to see him get some touches. He led the team in rushes, so rushing yards, I should say. So that's a plus. It's cool to see. But as far as Ole Miss goes, play Georgia State. Nothing too crazy. However, it's not the Georgia method of we're playing young guys. We're playing transfers. That's Lane Kiffin's MO. We retool the best we can every year. I mean, we get top 25 recruiting classes, things of that nature, but we all know we're hitting the portal heavy. Top 3, I think, the last 3 or 4 years in the transfer portal. So obviously Lane Kiffin's hitting that heavy. But typical Ole Miss, minus last year, O-line scares me. D-line scares me. Ole Miss has been more of like the, let's say, Big 12. Like, we just put up points and hope we outscore people, other than last year being the one fluke season where we bring in Walter Nolan, Prince. We got some dogs last year. It was nice to see a defense like that, but
led the country in sacks.
We did, and broke all our school records in sacks. But I don't really see that happening this year.
Broke all 3 of our hearts on that rainy Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather was like out there, but the weather was shit over here in Atlanta. And
it was terrible at the game. It was raining like crazy.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
It was beautiful. I don't recall any of that. But no, with that being said, so as you guys know, not to take a dig at you, last year Dart got hurt that one drive. Back up, Austin Simmons comes in, rips it downfield like flawlessly.
Slashes them.
Yeah.
Looked amazing. Like it was crazy, right? So obviously there's some hype building behind that. He comes in first drive, does the exact same thing. I think he went 3 for 3 in the first drive of the TUD, and we didn't run the ball. I think we ran the ball once actually. But yeah, I mean it was literally like a snap of the finger, we're on the board. And it's like, oh, okay, like this kid's for real. And then fast forward, he throws a couple picks in the first half, so gets a little not sketchy. It's Georgia State, but definitely kind of humbles you. Like, all right, he's still a young 19-year-old. He's like graduated at 16, high school, enrolled in Ole Miss. This is his third year as a 19-year-old at Ole Miss, so it's kind of insane the way the path Austin Simmons kind of took.
It's nuts.
But he does have some flashes to be good. It's just going to be some growing pains, I think. I think it'll be interesting next week against Kentucky how we battle back, since that was one of our lulls of the season last year. I'm kind of hyped up to see how Lane Kiffin gets some boys.
Are you guys at Kroger Field, Logan, for that game?
Actually, hold on 1 second. I'll tell you.
I feel like
I think it is.
It is. I remember when they lost it last year. That was one of the big deals. Was like, how do you blow that one at home?
Yeah.
But then you lose that game. And
that loss was at home. Not even trying to rub that in. That's crazy, man.
No,
then they do that, and then they go blow South Carolina off the field.
Yeah.
We
had one good loss last year. It was LSU, and by the time the end of the season happened, that loss didn't look that great. I mean, Florida's loss wasn't too terrible because DJ Lagaway is an animal, but we beat Florida. We're in the playoffs, so that's a stinger. But
you guys weren't
overall, I think we look good.
I said they weren't the only people Kentucky gave hell last year. Georgia struggled with them too.
Oh yeah, Kentucky's always going to make people struggle, but we just had to be the idiots to lose to them. So
yeah, there's anybody's got a job for life. It is one Mark Stoops. Kentucky.
When is the last time Georgia's hung 30 on Mark Stoops? Respectfully, I honestly I can't tell you off the back of my head.
I mean, let me look
maybe that 21 team put up 31 points on them, but I don't even think we beat the brakes off them like one would expect. So
well, I remember that one year, a couple. Let me look it up. They beat that because there was that one year, the back-to-back year. It was like ice cold, and Georgia won like 6-0, or maybe it was like 14-0 or something stupid like that. Right. But then the year before, I'm pretty sure we won 34-13, and it wasn't 14 because we blocked the kick. When Devontae Wyatt got the penalty for running on the field. Here, let me look it up. All right, I got it right here. Maybe. Damn, this thing is glitchy. All right, so last year I know it was we won 13-12 last year. 2023 51-13. So there's that one.
There we go.
Kroger Field, it was 16-6 the year before. But I mean, compared to Kentucky plays Georgia tougher than Tennessee does. On an average, like seriously, not even joking there.
Yeah, absolutely.
From a scoreboard perspective. But okay, so a little bit of a refresher. Obviously, our teams, given their stature, will be playing each other in October. I think it's on the 18th. And on top of that, we'll be playing some other teams in some big games. So speaking of big games, we're going to dive into the first one of the week. One that's got everybody, was buzzing quickly. Was the Ohio State-Texas game. Had 1 versus 3 noon. I mean, that's the way to go off with a bang on college football Saturday is that right there, reigning national champs versus a team that they beat in the play. That Ohio State beat Texas in the playoffs. My quick takeaway was both defenses still incredible. Obviously, the biggest story has been Arch. Right, wrong, or indifferent. He was the story of this game. And it was going to be such an easy opportunity to go out there and take shots at him. If he didn't play well, and just objectively, if you watch that game, it's very. I mean, he threw the ball 30 times, and I can remember 4 where I was like, man, this is a pretty good throw. I think Matt Patricia, as your first start in the shoe, reigning national champs against Matt Patricia. It was, a phenomenal NFL defensive coordinator, has seen everything in the book. That's as tough as a first start as you can ask. that's a lot going against him. I mean, I watched, the Good Brother Books Austin break down, some film from the game, and they did so much disguising to where, like they're showing cover zero, which is pretty much man everywhere. And next thing you got two safeties dropping back. And if a quarterback, especially when that young, doesn't make that decision that quick, I mean, it's off. He's already starting off, 8 steps behind. So I think it was a really humbling game. But I know Logan was talking about it, privately with us, that there are some where he has a time, he just misses a throw. I mean, that one when Matthew Golden was wide open about to get the first down at the end of the game, throws it way behind him, and for no reason, like it's like he lost all of his mechanics. He throws it like a submarine pitcher. So that was really rattling for me. But whoever wants to kind of dive into their take from that game, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna go off of that one thing you were just talking about, like the first play from Texas. I remember Arch gets it like kind of read option, pulls it, keeps it, rolls to his right, and he throws it to this guy that's on the run, and he literally throws it behind him, and it's at his knees. Like it's low, it's behind him, and I feel like that summed up the whole game. Every throw that he could have made, that's how it was. With that being said, though, Ohio State, I just kind of feel like it was a sloppy offensive game because it was the same thing for Ohio State. Like I was just looking up the stats. Julian Sayin had 126 passing yards. Granted, he didn't have a turnover. He didn't miss as many passes, but also didn't throw as many. But I think both teams look pretty solid. I mean, you got Jeremiah Smith dropping passes that are hitting him in the hands. It was a pretty sloppy offensive game. With it being said, there's some defensive disguises throwing off quarterbacks and whatnot. They're both young, getting their first big start. But I think it was more sloppy offense than great defense. I won't say good defense. It was good defense, but maybe not great defense.
Oh, before whoever goes next, I think it's more the testament, and I obviously know what you're talking about with football, so I'm not trying to insinuate that, but there's so much I think that goes on pre-snap that wins the down. Because if his initial read is, all right, this safety is covering this guy, man coverage, and you're going to make your decision off of that, and then you drop back, and and the safety is going back in deep thirds, you're like, oh my God, what do I do now? Because there's so many mix-ups that I think it gets you thinking as a quarterback. And I think that's one of the things is the moment was kind of just bigger than he was.
Yeah.
And with a name like Manning, that's something you don't really hear a lot because those guys are known for nothing but big moments. But just wanted to add that part in. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback off what you guys are hitting at when it comes to just the general, I won't call it sloppiness, but first game jitters from both teams. Obviously, we know a lot of these big name guys who didn't put up what they typically do in the box score. They're going to come around to being their typical selves by week 4 and week 5 at the latest. This is to be expected. But some of the things that stuck out to me personally in this game, Arch is kind of on clearance for me for the next 8 to 10 weeks. He's no. And when I say clearance, I mean like he's devoid of getting too much slack from me until he shows me a full body of work. I'm not going to drop the hammer on him week 5 or week 6 because this is his first run at this. Who I will drop the hammer on partially after this week is Sarkisian. Texas averaged 6 yards a carry in the second half. I think they ran the ball like 13 times. I mean, they completely got away from what was obviously working in that offense and what could have obviously been a pick-me-up for your struggling young quarterback. I don't get it, man. He makes me scratch my head so often in a lot of these big games because he's known for being a prolific play caller through his days at Alabama. But when it comes to him as a head coach, I think he struggles with the battle of when and when not to play call and when to put his foot on the pedal with a lot of things. And that just really made me scratch my head. I think that this game was way too close to get away from doing what your team was built to do. They're getting big body guys to resemble more of an SEC team in every way on both sides of the ball. And I think to get away from the run when you're clearly struggling with Arch, it was baffling to me from Sark. So,
and you talk about Sark, like some things that blew my mind. First off, I've always been, I know Tripp, as you'll probably see soon, is a much more conservative football guy. Me, I'm very aggressive, like as far as like, coaches going for it, going for 2, things like that. I mean, this guy was in the red zone twice fails fourth down conversion twice. I mean, they're on that last drive looking at, so what, that's 6. So you're going down 14-13 instead of 14-7. I mean, your whole type of, your whole I guess strategy. I don't know why I couldn't talk there. Your whole strategy is different. And that's kind of what killed me is like you guys are struggling to get anything going offensively. You guys can't afford. I know they're Texas, like Graham was saying, they're being built up front. You guys can't afford to not go for this because your defense is playing well, but you guys aren't putting up any points. I think at that point there was some point. Now he'll know more football than I'll ever forget. I know that that's obvious, but there's no reason you get down there that twice when you're struggling for points and you don't walk away with any points. That blew my mind, and there was a lot of going forward on fourth down this weekend. Yeah. So that kind of blew my mind.
Trip, I know you're itching to drop the hammer. Go ahead, bro.
Well, first and foremost, playing Ohio State or going into SU is a tough task unless your name is the Michigan Wolverines. So that's going to be anybody's, especially game. I mean, week 1, I don't care who you are. That's a very tough game to get the ball rolling, especially with a young quarterback like Arch Manning. I mean, really, if you look at the stats, like Graham said, passing, rushing, all of the across, if you didn't know the final score of this game and you just looked at strictly stats and I asked you who won this game, you would probably point to Texas. A lot of positives coming from that offense, just zero execution. I mean, we're going to be completely honest. A lot of people are dogging on Arch right now. Julian Sayin really wasn't that impressive to me either. Now, granted, there's a lot of other factors that came into play for this game aside from these young quarterbacks. This is going to be a tough task for either one of these to do, no matter who they're playing. But at the end of the day, we saw a lot of mishaps on both these teams on both sides of the ball. I know that a lot of credit of that does go to defense, but I think like Graham said perfectly, a lot of this is just those jitters. So I do think Arch Manning is going to turn things around. He's going to turn into a better quarterback as the season rolls on. And I think the same thing for Julian Sayin. But I think if this game got played 10 times, it might be 5-5. I mean, so I don't think there's one of those teams that I look at and say one is that much better than the other right now.
Yeah, and I agree with, I don't think Sayin was if his name was Julian Manning, it'd probably be a lot different perspective of how he's viewed, just being transparent. But, if you just comparing it, I mean, he made way more good throws. Arch that's what killed me. It's not the stat sheet. It's not the throwing the pick, because, I mean, that just happens when you throwing the ball downfield. I think if Sayin takes more shots, so of course he had that, that incredible touchdown, Cardinal State. He had that. But like Arch it's the little things like that, should be like the onesie twosie. Hey, I'm dumping this off to the tight end is 6 yards behind him. I mean, there's just some inexcusable things when it comes to winning a game. And a part of it that really killed it for him is coming in. My personal opinion, just dating back to when he was in high school, I kind of always thought he was overrated, but it's not because he's Arch Manning. I don't trust private school quarterbacks that are 5 stars. I simply don't. I don't trust the Brock Vanderiffs. I just don't. And that's kind of where it derives. I mean, if you watch his tape, it's like watching Zion's Hoop mixtape, bro. It's like, who are these guys playing? I mean, that's kind of how I felt watching it, at least. And I think that has just.
I don't want to cut you off, but let's not disrespect Zion in the sense that even when Zion was playing against water polo players and whatnot, whoever which you will out there in South Carolina, we knew his game would transfer. We knew that. I think that even in high school, we knew Zion possessed too much from an athletic standpoint and just too much as a, profile of a player to not transfer to a pro style, because he's got a Shaq-like level of, force and dominance about his game. Arch doesn't have any of those things about his profile. So to your point, when you're not playing a level of competition that's resembling of what you're going to be playing in the SEC at that, and you're not somebody who athletically can just flip a game on his head like an Anthony Richardson, if you will. I don't want to compare the two, but when you're athletic enough, you can make some things happen that I don't think Arch naturally possesses right now, at least. Obviously, he's got time to grow. He's not a dud. He's not a donut. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect him in that manner at all. But I do think that something that's going to be interesting for me moving forward is this quarterback setup kind of feels like a marriage in a way. Now, I don't think if Arch ends up not panning out, Sark will get fired, but it will be something that goes down hugely on his stain there at Texas. Like, this has to work. Everyone knows that from even, right now, this has to work, because if it doesn't, it's going to backfire in so many ways from a recruiting and, just, their stain in the game. That standpoint would just take such a huge, blow. So that's kind of my take on it. I do feel the pressure bubbling up in that sense. There's things around Arch that he can't control that's already starting to build up. So he's definitely going to have to factor that into the things he keeps out and only focuses on ball. So.
Well, great. Anybody got anything else they want to expound upon when it comes to Arch, Ohio State, Texas, whatever the case could be?
I think the most important thing is just it's week one. I mean, if we made a judgment call on every team week one that we thought was right, that would defeat the whole purpose of the season. So, I mean, like Graham said, Arch has plenty of time to get better. I mean, so does everybody else. So does this offense. I mean, that's probably their toughest opponent all year long, especially from a defensive standpoint. Now, obviously, Ohio State's defense wasn't the main factor in them losing that game, but when it comes to top defenses, that's one of the best they're going to face. So there's only room for improvement to going forward.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a lot better. I'm not super worried about him as a quarterback, but I understand, given the platform, given the hype, given the name, it was going to be very easy if he doesn't play bad. I mean, it's just happened to be the first game, but whenever that moment happened, the same thing was going. We were going to have to get this out of the way at one point. That's how I look at it.
When you're the Heisman favorite, you're going to have a target on your back. He could have played a very subpar game, and people would still find something to pick apart about him. It just so happened he didn't play well at all. So
and make the AI memes, everything.
Exactly. He needs to stay off of Twitter is what he needs to do.
Yeah. So he definitely needs to make sure that thing downloaded. Logan, you got anything else before we go? On to the next one?
All He's a Manning. He'll figure it out.
Say what?
He's a Manning. He'll figure it out.
Spoken like a rebel. That's what I like to hear. Okay, well, I think one of the bigger things in college football, one thing I think all four of us celebrate at some point, is the what in the hell did we watch Alabama do? I mean, it was when Tommy Castellanos in the offseason, said what he said, it was like, Saban ain't there no more. I was like, oh my God, they're going to beat that. They're going to Georgia them. They're going to 63-3 them. Like that's what's going to happen. And as I was watching it, I was just thinking like, oh, I mean, Bama's going to pull it out, right? I mean, all this talent, DeBoer, which we're going to get to in a second, what people will say about him, they can say what they say, but I mean, he's an offensive mastermind. They're recruiting exceptionally well. I'm like, okay, it's going to figure itself out. But I saw a team that, it sounds easy to say this because of what we saw, but looks unmotivated, doesn't care about being there. It's a little egregious, but just didn't look that attention to detail thing that I always thought people kind of, went overboard with Nick Saban. It was very on display. I mean, I'm not talking a matter of people putting up 100 points. I'm talking having 11 heads sprinting to the football. I'm talking getting mashed at the line of scrimmage when you have players like LT Overton up front. I mean, guys just look sloppy. I mean, they said Caden Proctor's like 370, dude. I mean, you can't be a productive left tackle and be the number one, the potential number one offensive line in next year's draft and, be like that. So there's kind of a lot of subpar standards going on. But, I mean, Florida State dominates. Even when it kind of looked like Bama was going to make their run, dominates up front especially, and walks away 31-17. I never would have guessed this coming. I mean, Bama fell to 21. Florida State jumped from unranked to 14. So clearly someone holds a lot of stock in that. So I'll leave the floor open from there because, I mean, there's a lot to divulge from this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most important things, this was Mike Norvell's game to save his career at Florida State. This was his way of getting back into the good side of those people up in that front office up there, number one. I mean, number two, it looks like they came with a game plan. I mean, if you're a player for the University of Alabama, you're always going to have a target on your back. So any team that is on that schedule with you is looking to knock you off. I don't care who it is. So it looks like Florida State had the better game plan. it looked like Alabama kind of came into this game with the expectation that they weren't going to lose. And so it was very lackadaisical from what I saw. Tommy Castellanos stood on business at the end of the day. I mean, he said what he said. He's right. Nick Saban is not there to save him anymore, and they look vulnerable.
That is crazy to say. Oh
I mean, that's an insane statement to say, but he did what he had to do. So, like I said, I think that makes Alabama look more vulnerable. Now, granted, as a Georgia fan, I'm never going to count out Alabama. I don't care how good or bad they are. I'm more than sure that they're going to turn things around. That's one of the best things about the world of college football we're in right now is you don't have to be perfect to make the playoff anymore. So they could go on an 11-0 run after that game and still be a top seed in the playoff and be just fine. I do think they have a lot of kinks to work out. And one thing I wanted to point out that stuck out the most to me about this game, I mean, that opening drive by Alabama was 9 minutes long. They ran the ball for 51 yards out of that drive that they took all the way down for a touchdown, and then did not get any. I think they finished the game after that with only 21 more rushing yards. So it looked like, and this happened in a lot of games, which we'll talk about more later, where that opening drive was a wow factor. We're like, okay, this is the true Alabama we're used to seeing, and then everything just went out the window after that as far as the game plan goes. So not sure what happened there. Obviously, can only be a spectator and see what I see, but they got a lot of room to grow.
Either one of you lovely two gentlemen, go ahead, give your spill.
Well, I'll say this. One of the videos I've seen on social media after the game is when they're kneeling the ball out and you got two defensive linemen for Bama just standing up cracking jokes. That's not flying on Saban's team, bro.
I did see that.
We all know that. That is not a Saban mentality. Saban's got like a Mamba mentality. You know, you're locking in. Them boys was not locked in, and they were laughing and giggling like they was the one kneeing the ball out. That's crazy to see from Alabama. You guys are Georgia fans. I'm an Ole Miss fan. We've all had our hearts shattered by Alabama time after time our entire lives.
Shattered isn't the word.
Seeing this seem like it could be on the brink of imploding is kind of awesome. I'm not mad at it. I would love to see Bama go back to pre-Saban days where they're just awful every single year. With that being said, they're going to come after my boy Lane Kiffin, and I don't need that to happen. So if DeBoer could get it together, at least win 8 or 9 games to stay, stay a little better there. Bama's one team I would be scared about plucking old Kiffin from us. But Alabama as a whole definitely looks sloppy. I'm going to trip on this one. They didn't look like they really wanted to be there, maybe looked like they thought they had it in the bag, They came out just ready, but I don't know. I think people forget Mike Norvell's a dog. I don't know if y'all seen his college picture. Cornrow Mike Norvell.
My boy had the cornrows. Coach Norvell had cornrows.
Hey, the dog was out. Norvell, like Tripp saying, it's kind of felt like a coaching for your job moment. Time to get this back on track after last year's disaster, So it was definitely interesting to see. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, I mean to fall right in line with what Logan was hitting on. As far as the intensity that Florida State came with from the jump, from the absolute first whistle. I knew those boys were hunting for something. Now, obviously, there's plenty of times that big teams play schools that treat you like a Super Bowl. When you're truly a big team, you deal with that a couple times each year. We deal with that with Tennessee every year. So, for just to name my personal favorite when it comes to that topic, but. Regardless, Florida State really was playing like they had something that each guy on the team, on the sideline, and Norvell felt personal about. I truly have no idea what this Alabama team feels personal about, and I'm not gonna make a mountain out of a molehill or whatever the saying is, but
nice.
I feel like this goes back further than just after Saban's tenure. I remember that rainy night where Saban was losing his hair in South Florida. I remember them nights. Nobody gonna erase that from my memory. Something's been going on in Tuscaloosa for a little bit longer, before than just that. I don't know exactly if it is NIL and the impact that it's making on every blue blood program that has to face the reality with recruits when it comes to, are you playing for yourself or are you playing for the badge? And we all have to make those business decisions as teams. How many guys are you going to have on the roster that are just too talented to deny? But with that comes a cost. And I think Alabama is also going to be a prime example of what that looks like with years to come, because it doesn't have that same feel that the Bama teams from past had. This isn't a guy from the Saban tree. This feels very foreign to what we know as SEC fans. So it's going to be interesting. He is a hell of a recruiter, though, and that is something that he's always going to be able to leverage on his side when it comes to anywhere that he's at. He's obviously shown just within this first year at Bama that he can recruit anywhere. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure.
I also just want to touch on the USF comment. Yes, I do remember that game. Bama struggled. They pulled it out. They benched Milroe, all that, of course.
Yeah.
Following week, they played Ole Miss and absolutely thrashed us. So screw Nick Saban for that. Milroe came out with a vengeance, and they were better for it. But it is interesting going back to that USF game, thinking about it. Ty Simpson was the one that started over Milroe, and now he's kind of their Mac Jones. He's been the one that's sitting behind everybody for the last few years and getting his opportunities.
That's a great point, man. That's
kind of interested to see how he bounces back.
You know, one thing that I noticed about this game, and honestly, stats may tell you otherwise because he was like 23 or 43. I really didn't think Ty Simpson looked too bad. Like, he looked like he knew where to get with the ball. I mean, he looked, I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but he looked like he knew what he was supposed to be doing. They were just getting mashed up front the entire game. I mean, they were getting home with 3 people pressuring. I mean, forget a Nick Saban offensive line. That doesn't happen with college offensive lines. I mean, that's a rarity within itself. I mean, Castellanos, it's not like he was dotting the ball. He went 9 for 14 with 152 yards. Added in 80 yards and a rushing touchdown, 80 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. But I mean, it wasn't like he was just, it was like almost like watching Georgia play Jalen Milroe. Like, he's not playing well, like in the SEC championship game, especially. He's not really playing well, but we just can't figure this thing out. And that's kind of like, I felt like I was watching the same thing happen. So it was interesting to that. Ryan Williams, the Georgia hangover is unreal. Trip, I know you have something that you want to bring up about that, but that guy is, I mean, the fact that he was, it sounds insane when he was being who's better, him or Jeremiah Smith at one point last year, which to me it was never even close. But I mean, God, I hope he's okay because I know he got hurt. I heard it might be concussed. Hope he gets back to health soon. But I mean, he's blanketed that Saturday.
Yeah, and just to bring up that stat that you were talking about, I was telling Joey about this earlier today. One thing that I saw online that stuck out to me is his first 4 games in an Alabama uniform, he had over 430 receiving yards. He's barely scratched 400 in his last 10 games since that. So not sure exactly what's going on. I know he left the game early with a concussion, apparently. I hope all is well for him. I saw some other speculations that maybe he was fighting an ankle injury and was kind of fighting through it for this game. Could also see that being a thing. I think another really important point about this conversation that opened my eyes a lot, along with some other games this weekend, is the ACC is way more wide open than I thought it was. Going into the season, I think Clemson was obviously a heavy favorite coming in with a top defense, Cade Klubnik returning as a top quarterback in the country. Miami looks great. Florida State, obviously that's only one game. They look kind of scary. Not going to even talk about North Carolina. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, I think that Georgia Tech as well. Georgia Tech has Haynes King. They could do a lot of things with him as well. So I think that conference is going to get shaken up a lot this year, just like the SEC has been doing to each other for a while.
That's a really good point. That
True.
ACC. Go ahead.
No, yeah. I was going to hit on that. Same point that Trip was making about how deep the ACC is. I think we would all be negligent as fans of just college football if we were to sit here and say that conference doesn't have the most parity to it this season by far. There's just way too many teams that I think styles make matchups, and I think that there's just so many matchups that give even maybe a better team on paper a horrible matchup stylistically, in that conference with teams like Georgia Tech, who is that ever a fun game to play? I don't care how you build your team or how you recruit. It's never ideal to play a team that way, who are going to typically always be a little bit older, always going to be a little bit tougher. They have that same, or at least a lot of guys on teams like that are going to have that same gene that guys like Castellanos have. Castellanos knows he's not going to go on to make the same amount of money as a lot of those 5-star big name starters on Alabama's team. So what these games mean to him might genuinely mean something different to some of these young guys who are just coming in. Hey, I'm getting burned. I know because of what deal I signed, or I know because of what name I carry and what weight it holds. I know that my PT is always going to be there. Castellanos is a guy that no matter how you felt about, his bravado and the comments that he made, this is a guy who he had to always pave his own way because he's like 5'10". I don't care what you're doing in life nowadays, bro. If you're that size and you're excelling at a very high level in sports, there is something about you that is undeniable, and a lot of times this is work ethic. I think the guy is a really hard worker, and Bama needs a few more cats like that in that locker room right now for sure. I'm not going to sit here and say they would be good enough to be starters, but something's not right. Like everyone has pointed out, there's things that have just been catching our eyes that don't align with the blueprint. And they're not a disciplined football team at all. They might probably miraculously turn all this around before they play Georgia like they always do. They'll get back to doing it by week 8 and week 9. This team will do that. They have shown us that. And let's not forget, this exact team, plus some, young players, lost to a Michigan team without Bryce Underwood. They were rotating their 3 stank-ass quarterbacks in that game, finding a way to claw out a win. And that defensive coordinator found a way to grind out a dub, for that bowl game win against DeBoer's Bama team that was on paper way more talented than that Michigan team. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure. But I know it's time to move on to our next game. But Bama is definitely on stank watch for till further notice.
Hey, we can always
the Dogs got to handle business this year for sure. We got to put a nail in that casket.
Well, we can always expound on the fact that at least, Bama fans know how to lose. I mean, at least, they're taking that well. Haven't been any. I mean, these guys are like,
for sure.
Fire him tomorrow. Like, fire him tomorrow. Oh, real quick, I will share something interesting. A lot of people are talking about his buyout, and it's like 60 million or 66 million, I think. But someone pointed out, it was a guy from On3. He said 70. This guy tweeted, said 70 million is too high for schools without oil money. Talking about Alabama, like that's a lot of money to find. This guy says people need to understand that the structure of the buyout is more important. Mark Stoops is half as much, but more prohibitive because it's all due immediately. This one would be paid in equal monthly installments until 12/31/31. It's a line item. It says huge points made here. That means that Bama would only have to pay less than $1 million a month just at $875,000 for the next 72 months. That doesn't sound as daunting as dumping out, 70 million. So that's going to be something to watch. That right there. Do I think he's going anywhere this year? No. Do I think if they have another year? I mean, after they beat Georgia, they've lost like 5 games since they beat Georgia. Like it's nuts. But no, we will always stand for a Bama fan collapsing. We will always stand for that. And Logan's team before Georgia, became the force they were, had to play him every year. So I mean, if anybody's eating this up, it's one Logan. Am I lying?
Hey, best 2 years of my life, 2014, 2015. Beat them back-to-back years. It's been downhill since.
Is that your Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I ain't blaming you.
Did y'all take down the goalpost both times? Had to.
Well, one time was in Bama, but at our place, you damn right we did.
Yeah.
Hey, we had Katy Perry carrying it through the bars of Oxford. You can't beat that. That's real talk. You can't beat that.
That's true.
And then Oxford is super crazy. So man, big ups to.
No one tailgates like Ole Miss and LSU. I'm just here to say it. Them 2 schools know how to tailgate.
Well, that's a great.
Hey, Logan, show them your sign, man. That sponsorship money already came through. Oh wait, no, you had that little sign earlier.
Yeah. Hold on. In case y'all was wondering, hold on, baby. Hold on, baby. Go ahead, come to the sip.
That's fantastic.
We already getting shipments to the PO box, man. Some of Logan's fans send them some gear, so I'll send it through.
Yeah, Graham got a gun with no prints on it, so I mean, we got everything. We getting whatever they send us.
Hey, I will say this though, because I know we got LSU coming up. I mentioned their great tailgating.
Great segue.
Also, I want to speak on. We're talking about Castellanos being a dog, backing up what he's saying, things of that nature. Hey, LSU stood on business. They came out wearing T-shirts that said 1-0. I thought it was corny, but then they came in and backed it up. So it's easy to hate on Brian Kelly. Let's just start there.
The players was wearing one and those
Yeah,
shirts?
in warm-ups, their shirt said 1-0 on the back, and they came and backed that shit up. So
Oh, wow.
LSU, I mean, everybody knows there's a little bit of hype behind LSU, Nussmeier, and things of that nature. But talking about making a statement like Castellanos, you come out in warm-ups wearing a 1-0 shirt, and you're in Death Valley at Clemson, and you keep telling Clemson we're the real Death Valley, and you come out there and back it up. Hey, more power to you. That was impressive on a primetime game too. You know, that's a big game.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's funny to me that two teams, both Tigers, both stadiums named Death Valley. I didn't know that was a Tiger thing. If it is, but that's always been pretty intriguing to me. But yeah, I mean, this game was looked at as, going into the season, probably the two best quarterbacks in the country, going off against each other. Arguably, we'll get to it a little bit more, but Nussmeier is my personal Heisman pick. And I think it looked both teams looked a little rough the first half, but he owned the moment. When it was time to make throws, he made throws. I was really, really impressed with him handling it. I saw one of the guys who does Brooks show with him, Jay Will. He said Klubnik is kind of like Hendon Hooker, and I'm like, all right, I wonder where this is going. When everything goes really well and everything's in place, he's dominant. But when he's got his back against the wall and he's got to make the play, he looks very overwhelmed. And I thought he quickly looked overwhelmed, was, rushing the mechanics, so many things. And I think that, to me, I think he's a very good quarterback. But, again, he's got to kind of have everything going right for him. I think Nussmeier is a little more just give me the ball and I'm going to find a way to win. So that's what I enjoy about him. I got a couple interesting stats for this game. Both teams went combined 7 of 24 on third down. So a lot of poor execution there. Just some real ugly trying to figure it out, make it happen on third down. Again, these are also two really good defenses. I'll say Harold Perkins played fantastic for LSU. He looked really good. And he was playing nickel a lot, which is, for him being an edge rusher, is nuts. So that was really impressive. LSU won the time of possession, 37-22. So Clemson had the ball for 22 minutes. And that's obviously really telling because when I was watching it, I was watching it with Trip, and I was like, thinking in my head, I was like, did these guys get the ball at all? Like, it felt like they had not touched the ball. So obviously you keep it out of your opponent's hand. That's a real easy way to win. Clemson had a chance late, obviously blew it, but I feel really good about LSU. Feel really good about them.
Yeah, to your point, Joey, I think that LSU, when it comes down to a lot of these high-profile games, especially early on in the season, it's cliche, and obviously you want to do it every week, but whoever wins the fourth quarter normally wins these games. Momentum is always huge. And I just think that Nuss was able to make a couple of layered throws. And when I say layered, I just mean like putting touches on the ball that only a guy of his caliber, who we know is going to go on and get drafted accordingly for these same reasons, can make. On all three levels of the defense, Nuss was just able to put just touch on the ball in enough places to where you can keep the ball, like what you were just hitting at when it comes to the time of possession. I mean, he controlled his offense a lot more proficiently than Klubnik did. And he has struggled with that kind of notoriously with bigger games in his career. Klubnik has. That offense has a tendency of looking discombobulated and just giving it off to Phil Maffa 97 times in a row or something like that. But I think Nuss, to your point about being a Heisman favorite, he showed us why in the big moments for me.
Yeah, I think this is kind of, what we expected out of the Texas-Ohio State game was a really, down in the trenches defensive matchup, but that's really what we got out of this LSU-Clemson game. I mean, to your point, Joey, of the 7 of 24 on third downs, I think a true testament of that is how really good these defenses both are. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that these are two of the top 5 defenses in the country. I've got to eat my words. I picked Clemson to win this game, and Garrett Nussmeier completely proved me wrong. They prevailed when it mattered. I think one of the most impressive stats of the day on that was LSU's defense held Clemson to 31 rushing yards on the day. So clearly they were putting the pressure on Cade to make those plays, and he wouldn't do it. So they came out on top. This one was right behind the Miami Notre Dame game. Is one of my favorites of the weekend. I do love watching those really good defensive matchups. I know Joey's the same way. We talked about that a little bit. We did get to watch this one together. But yeah, at the end of the day, these are two playoff teams that have a chance to play each other again. I could see it going both ways, just like the other Ohio State and Texas game, like I spoke on earlier. But these guys both have hell of a teams in front of them. I do see why Garrett Nussmeier is now the Heisman favorite. He proved that. And I think he's going to continue to shine throughout the season as well.
Low Daddy, you got anything?
I mean, I'm with all you guys. LSU looks good. Kind of going to what Tripp's saying about the defense. I hate to say it, and I do feel like the rest of the leagues are catching up, but it kind of goes back to SEC. It just means more, you know? Like, I know everyone else is catching up. They're on the hills. We all got to admit it. Everyone knows, like, NIL deals and stuff, things of that nature. Like, everyone's on our hills for sure, but I think SEC is just that much better. Like, and in those moments, you kind of see it because, like, I mean, look at the points we're pointing out. Like, Klubnik in the big moment kind of looks like he's folding. Where Nussmeier in the big moment, he's making those plays. He's making touches on the passes like Graham's touching on, and he's stepping up when it matters most. And that just seems like what SEC does in these bigger matchups. But with that being said, like, I think all three of these top 10 matchups that we watched this weekend, it's very easily that all three of these games could happen again in the playoffs. Like, I don't think any of these teams are out of it. It's week one. Obviously, nobody's out of it. Maybe North Carolina, but no one's really out of it. I think all of these we could see possibly, another matchup later down the road. And I think it'd be interesting to see any of them happen again, especially in the playoffs.
I mean, you talk about Clemson in the SEC. I mean, not to be silly, but I mean, 2024, 0-3 against the SEC. 2022, 0-2. I mean, so they have kind of struggled lately for some reason. And obviously, I know there's games that they've won, but like if it's not Alabama, they just, they do struggle with the SEC. I don't know if there's merit to that or if it's just coincidence, but I mean, we watched what Georgia did to them last year. So they lost to South Carolina last year. They'll obviously have that huge rematch, giant rivalry out there. But yeah, it's I think both teams are going to be. I mean, I think Clemson's going to be fine. Dabo kind of looked bad for saying it, but I got his point where he's like, if we can we took a final exam the first day of class, they scored a 65, we got a 58. Both teams look bad, which if you haven't seen it, Brian Kelly came with a pretty sweet reply to that, saying he must have not watched the second half or be a tough grader. So that was good, but
yeah,
I think these are both teams that are going to be fighting for a playoff spot. LSU very well could be in Atlanta, December for the SEC championship. If Nuss doesn't turn the ball over, that team scares me a lot. And team that I cover, South Carolina, they play them in a few weeks. That's in Baton Rouge, so that's gonna be really exciting to see. But yeah, I mean, ACC has a lot going on this weekend, like you said. I mean, the Clemson Miami game, which I just real brief on that. Miami, I could not believe how well they played up front defensively. That really impressed me. They said Notre Dame basically said, hey, like they always do, we're going to cover you guys. We're going to play man coverage, bring 5-6 on plays. Let's see you beat us. And if Carson Beck is given time in a pocket, Trip, Graham, and I have watched several games. He will dissect you. That is a bad dude right there. I know a lot of Georgia fans are not, always, he's not loyal, which I don't think a lot of people said it. I saw some goofballs say that Georgia insiders say this Carson Beck leaving is the best thing that ever happened to the program. Like, first off, no, they didn't. Second off, this is a guy who sat at Georgia for 3 years before he got his time to start and was coming in a 6-year college football. So I after the Bama game last year, as goofy as that sounds to say, Carson Beck won me over forever. I knew he was going to be good anywhere he went. And it made me pretty happy to see him play as well as he did. As a Dog fan, our buddy Colby is a diehard Miami fan, so I know he's excited about that. But I was glad to see Beck play well. I really was.
And I mean, Joey, you know, last year, me and you got a bit of a debate talking about Carson Beck being a first-round quarterback. I did not believe last year's draft he'd be a first-round quarterback. I think there's a high possibility this year. And I think, I mean, you guys are Georgia fans, you know better than me, but I think just about any Georgia fan would love to have Beck behind center right now. I mean, I'm nothing against Stockton. He looked good. I just am not completely sold on his throwing abilities. I think he's great at running the football. He can do some things with his feet. I haven't 100% been sold on his passing ability. And Carson Beck, he's thrown the ball very well the last couple of years. A lot of unfortunate picks last year that really weren't his fault, drop passes, things of that nature. But Carson Beck, he can be a problem over there in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, I think not to be the contrarian here, but I think you guys both did beautiful enough of jobs explaining a lot of the positives that come with Carson, especially as just a pure passer and
And here's why Graham hates him.
thrower of the ball. But you also lose a huge element of your running game when it comes to Carson, and the fact that you're never able to genuinely sell the play action or, sell the defense on any type of a threat from his feet. And we were able to see a lot of that come to light in his last season with Georgia. So as much as I do, I completely get where you're coming from, and you're well justified in making your statement of like, we'd prefer Carson over Stockton. But I'm kind of on the fence on that. I don't know just yet. I want to give Carson, I want to give Gunner a few more weeks to, sell me on whatever it is he has to offer. But he is giving me Stetson vibes here early. I don't want to jinx it. But he genuinely is. He is somebody who I feel like is confident in his ability. And he's confident in playing within the system that he's sat and waited for, just like Carson did when it was his time. So Gunner has his host of reasons to want to ball out, but within his, own capacity. And I think it's going to be kind of similar to how Stetson was, and hopefully some of that can translate into some big wins, just like Stetson was able to have. But to our point about Carson, man, getting back to him, I just think that if the offense is able to continue to block the way that they were as well against Notre Dame and give him those clean pockets, the sky is the limit with what he can do with some of these really talented receivers, especially with the young cat Tony. It's the reason why we're hitting on the ACC being as wide open as it is. It is going to be interesting to see how Carson is able to navigate against some of those better defenses, but we'll see. We'll see.
I do want to say before you go, Trip, Carson Beck is not a guy who's mobile, like you're going to run read options with him and stuff like that. He can make plays with his legs, though. That dude can make plays. Like, he extended so many plays last year against Georgia. I mean, if you remember against Tennessee, got a lot of score touchdown with his legs from like 15 yards out. So he presents such a threat with his arm that it opens up a lot of opportunity for him to, find the defense with their back turned and make plays. He can move really elusively.
The defense's back was turned, though, and that's the only point. The defense's back was turned, though. Like that's the only thing I want to hit on.
I don't just mean literally that, but I'm saying like you have to respect. It's not like it's Tom Brady back there running, but it's also not Lamar Jackson either. Like I get that, but yeah, he can make plays with his legs. He can get out of the pocket and make plays.
It is funny, though, because I think I think Gunner Stockton could be the exact opposite for y'all. I think his ability with his legs is what could get guys open downfield. It's literally like, it's kind of weird seeing, because I guess Stetson obviously could run a little bit, or I guess I'm not giving enough credit. Stetson could run, but it's interesting to go from Beck, where you're talking like, yeah, he's pocket awareness, things like that. He can move his feet, get open in the pocket, create stuff. But it's like kind of like Graham saying, their backs turn, versus Stockton. You got to lock in. You got to have a spy, and that could be the reason why someone's open downfield. Like I said, I'm not ruling Gunner out, but I do think he still has to prove himself with his arm. And I know Tripp's
speaking on quarterbacks, and I know Tripp will hit on some points with this as well. But CJ Carr didn't look bad either, man. I don't want to the fact that I think that Notre Dame, if they continue to take care of him, he could be solid for those boys as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and let Tripp, hop in for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, pretty much. I mean, I think I'd be lying if I would say that I wouldn't want a quarterback like Carson Beck in our locker room. I mean, the guy brings just a presence. He's got a hell of an arm back there. I mean, the guy led the SEC in touchdown passes with a team that had led the nation in most drops. So it's kind of hard to not want a guy like that on your team. I think a lot of people forget Gunnar Stockton was also a 5-star. I would encourage anybody that has not seen his high school tapes to go take a peek. This guy, he might seem like a quiet country boy, just gets through the motions kind of quarterback. This dude's a dog, man. I mean, like Joey said, when Carson did something specific to win him over, when the way he performed against Alabama in the SEC championship, Gunnar won me over when he got knocked out in Texas. That boy held onto the ball the whole time and got right back up. So I definitely think, Kirby's going to have to get into his ear like, hey, we got to rely on you. You can't be taking hits like that kind of situation. But to Graham's point, I think when you have a quarterback like Gunnar Stockton, who does resemble a lot of things, and I don't want to compare him to Stetson, but his style is more comparable to Stetson than it is to Carson. You have to respect the legs. I mean, like I said earlier when we were talking about our teams, we were running speed options with him. I mean, if a defense has to prepare for things like that, that opens up the door, like Logan said, to a lot of other opportunities. Now, is Gunnar a Lamar or anybody like that? Absolutely not. But he can beat you with those legs. So I think that's going to, especially with people like Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas, open down the field where we got a lot more, depth in the wide receiver room this year. I think the opportunities are endless.
Yeah, I'm excited to obviously see my dogs play, our dogs, if you will. I'm excited to see Beck so much. I mean, it's season's obviously so young; it just got started. So, one thing that it did get off to a jumping point with was one UNC and Bill Belichick, where it was one drive. Oh, we knew this was the right guy. We knew he was going to get high. Like, this is perfect. Blah 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 blah. And then next thing you know, it's okay. Why are there so many girlfriend jokes? What happened to the coach in the game? Like, or about what the game? It's once they got past that scripted drive, dude. I mean, it looked like, post Brady Patriots, which I'm not comparing them to that. I'm just saying they looked that inept where it was like, what is this? This is Bill Belichick. What's supposed to be going on here? I think anybody who thought UNC was going to be able to make a playoff run was beside themselves and was silly, or maybe was just kidding, but could not be serious that was going to happen. But it was exciting for me to watch. I mean, you have arguably the best basketball player of all time and arguably the best football player of all time from the same school in the building. Yep. I mean, that was really cool to me. Mia Hamm, arguably the best women's soccer player of all time. So that was really, really cool to see. But my God, that flame died quick. It was a candle in the rain.
I'll jump in here and start this one off. Just out of respect for Bill, I mean, I wouldn't care if he's coaching for St. Mary's School for the Blind. I'm going to be watching if it's on TV. I mean, you just got to appreciate greatness where it's at, most importantly. I mean, I think I saw a stat that said he had 70 new players on this roster going into Monday night. So, I mean, you can only you can only deal with what the cards you're dealt, right? So, opening drive was very exciting. I remember being locked in and going, wow, maybe Bill has turned this into something. And then we learned real quick, like Joey said, that flame died really fast. I mean, the funniest part about the whole situation, I don't know if you guys saw this, but right after that first drive, first person to post a tweet is Skip Bayless. And Skip was saying something along the lines of, I knew Bill Belichick could create a playoff team his first year in college. Well, yeah, that's been proven wrong. It doesn't matter who's behind the headset. If you don't have the roster in this, realm of college football, you're in trouble. So, again, not going to harp on it too much. The hand he was dealt with 70 new players, you can't really expect too much out of him. But still, like I said, I'm going to watch Bill Belichick coach until he decides to hang it up.
Of course. I will jump in on this. I'm going to be like Tripp. Keep it pretty short and sweet. I know I kind of touched on this in the group chat. This game felt a lot like game one for Deion Sanders at Colorado. Lots of hype, lots of celebrities, lots of fans going berserk, lots of, everyone's just super excited about it. They score the first drive. It's super loud in that place. Felt very, very Colorado-esque when it came to that. And people just kind of forget, kind of like what Tripp touched on, is like same thing with Deion. You get all these transfers coming in year one. I mean, no matter who you are, anything of that nature, it takes a minute to kind of kick that in and really turn it around. It takes more than an off season or spring camp, whatever. I just think this felt a lot like Colorado Dion year one, or game one, I should say. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is a comparable year altogether as well. And that's not to say
They
Bill
did win that
Belichick
game, though, to be
the
fair.
next year is better. What's that?
They did win that game, though, to be fair.
Dion was bringing in
Well, I'm just
celebrities.
saying the
all
hype
the while.
wise.
I got your point. I just wanted to at least clarify that.
And also, I'll touch on this. It was awesome seeing Max Johnson come back and throw a tud. That was sweet.
That was
Oh,
nuts. I was
that
like,
was-
"Is he
With the
still
injuries
playing?"
that he's dealt with, it's always awesome to see a guy like that.
And if I'm not
So-
mistaken, did he throw it to his brother, right?
Oh, that's crazy.
Am I
I didn't
correct
know
with that? I'm
I'm
pretty
not
sure it was
entirely
his brother that he
sure,
threw the
but that would
touchdown
be
to.
fire if he did. That would be
I
so
want to say
cool.
that it was his brother he threw the tud to. I'm trying to pull it up now.
I guess I'll hit on
I think-
on a little bit of a different angle. Oh, my bad, Logan. I didn't mean to cut you off, bro. Was it his
No, you're
brother?
good. I just got it to load. Jake Johnson has 1 catch, 2 yards, touchdown. I'm pretty sure that was his brother that caught it. Pretty sure I've seen that somewhere. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure.
No, it checks out. It checks out. But no, man, the one thing that I wasn't the one question I had in my mind for Bill going into this phase of his career, going the college route, that wasn't able to get answered for me was how was he going to be able to galvanize and pick up these young guys versus guys who are playing under professional contracts. You saw his team go down early and you really didn't see much of a response in terms of how they play. I understand that the score is going to turn out going in one team's favor when a blowout takes place as early as that one did. But there are some things that you look for in a team, especially you're playing your first game for your new coach. You're supposed to have some fight about you throughout that first game. And I really didn't see a lot of that. So some of the signs early on aren't pointing in the right direction. But as we've said for all of these games and all of these players and coaches alike so far, it's week one. It's way too early to write anybody off entirely. But he got way too many fucking distractions going on for somebody going into an entirely new landscape of his career. And it's real unorthodox of him because everything we knew about Bill Belichick, and I am a Jets fan, so I can tell you from firsthand experience, even when this guy would have some of his most epic moments, he would have about 9 words to say about it. You saw very little about his personal life or any of his personal feelings when it came to anything. And now this guy is, running around and kind of building up this celebrity persona that I never knew him as when he, was at his peak in New England. So
He's got his creative muse now. He's got his creative muse, Jordan.
That's right. Yeah. So, hey, who the hell am I though? He is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. So,
well, yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to see how they go with that. But yeah, so this weekend we really only have one ranked matchup. We've got Oklahoma and Michigan. I'm taking Oklahoma. I trust Brent Venables versus a freshman quarterback, the most expensive quarterback there is. Actually, nothing the guy from Duke's making the most, but obviously we know Underwood is making a ton of money. Didn't put up a ton of crazy numbers last week, but he did some really good things. You could tell that he's got the mechanics to make things happen. So I'm really excited to see what he's got going on. But yeah, I'm taking Oklahoma this weekend, but I think we're going to see Bryce make some plays. But I think we're also going to see him get pretty overwhelmed, and I think it's going to be too overwhelming to overcome. So really excited to see about that. And I think, I'm ready to see a Mateer coming out party on the national stage, who I think is going to be a Heisman finalist personally.
I was actually just about to ask you guys how you felt about Mateer going into, his first legit big game coming up. I know Logan is a bit of our, he's at least our quarterback wizard here in our camp. So I'd love to hear, his take on, his expectations for both the quarterbacks going into this game.
I honestly have not watched much of Oklahoma. Can't say I put it this way. Oklahoma and quarterbacks go hand in hand. You name Oklahoma, you can name 10 quarterbacks without even thinking twice, So I definitely think that this would be a great game for him and Underwood. I'm interested to see both. I didn't watch either teams last week. I'll be completely honest, but this is going to be the game that everybody watches this week for sure. So this is going to tell us a lot about Michigan as well as Oklahoma, because I think Oklahoma is one of those teams, and me being an Ole Miss fan, this is also directed at us. I think Ole Miss, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, they're all kind of in that same room of like they could win 10 or 11 games or they could win 7 or 8. Like you really don't know. And I think there's a lot of games coming up that's going to really – I mean, it's football. It happens every year. You're going to see these teams get tested and see how they respond. And that's what I'm most interested in this week's game for sure.
I'm actually going to go against Joey on this one. I'm actually taking Michigan in this one, and I'll tell you why. I mean, this didn't really see a whole lot out of Underwood this past week, and, saw some really good highlights from Oklahoma as well. Justice Haynes with almost 160 yards on the ground this week for Michigan. I think that's going to, that run game is going to open up a lot of opportunities for Underwood, and I think as time progresses, he's just going to get better and better. Didn't see, like I said, a lot of crazy things out of Underwood. Definitely got some highlights out of him, but I think he's going to step up to the plate this week personally. I also have family from Michigan, so that has to be my second team. So I'm going to be rooting for him. But I think this is going to be Underwood's first true test, a big one at that. I don't think Oklahoma is going to allow 160 yards on the ground to Justice Haynes by any means, but I do think that with the kind of smash mouth football that Michigan's known for playing, I think that's going to be what overpowers it.
Yeah, and honestly, like you said, talking about that run game, Haynes went nuts. Underwood, honestly, a lot of the things he did kind of opened it up because they could. I think it was New Mexico State. They had to respect the way he could throw the football, because the mechanics are all the way there. It's just obviously getting adjusted to the college game, and I mean they paid him so much, publicly paid him so much. They had to start him. Like they tied their own hands that he had to start.
No doubt.
So I'm excited to see that. Unfortunately, I won't get to watch it. I'll be in Columbia this weekend, watching the good old Gamecocks.
Boots on the ground?
Yep. Say what?
Boots on the ground?
Oh, yeah. Front line. I'll be in the press box at Williams-Brice Stadium. So really excited about that. Getting to experience that, getting to see Lenore Sellers in the flesh this season. Not to make this part just about me, but for those who don't know, I am with Sports Illustrated. I write for Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina, but South Carolina is kind of more my assignment. So I'm getting an opportunity to, get to be on some of the telecalls with the SEC coaches on Wednesdays. Get to go, I have credentials to every home game pretty much. So won't be able to make all of them, but the ones I will be at, I'll definitely be there when they play Bama. I'll definitely be there when they play Clemson. So I'm really excited for that. And just getting be the first person to ask Shane Beamer if he's if he's thought about his job security. So, really,
Greg
Sankey, I don't know anything about any recruiting violations, but I can attest that I've already seen Joey and Lenore playing CeeLo over there at Williams-Brice, over there in the Wayside locker room. Man, I can attest. But honestly, to go back to the pick'em that we were having for this Michigan game coming up. Michigan versus Oklahoma. I'm rolling with my boy Trip. I'm buying the Bryce Underwood hype for at least this week. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm riding out with Bryce Underwood for the entire year. Obviously, he is a freshman, a true freshman at that. He's going to have his ups and downs. I'm not going to go on the record and say I got Michigan winning the Big Ten or making the playoffs or anything like that. But I am going to buy the hype for this week. I think big players have big conversations and big dollar signs attached and around their name for big reasons. And we see more and more often nowadays, impact guys don't need as often or don't need as long as, maybe they did when we were growing up. It was normal to see even a high profile recruit sit a year or two before he really started getting burned on a big team. And now we see all the time that impact players, when they're given the opportunity to play the whole damn game, they're bound to make big plays, i.e. even Ryan Williams. I know we're kind of putting him through the blender for how he's fallen off since then. But to his point, or to the point I'm making, Ryan Williams won them that game. He flipped that game right on his head. And I do think Bryce Underwood is of that same, type of cloth. I think he's a guy who, if given the opportunity, And Oklahoma does not impress me just enough yet defensively to where I don't think they're going to give them they're not going to hold them away from any opportunities. He's going to have at least 5 or 6 opportunities in this game to where he can exploit something in that defense just from being talented enough, I do believe. So I'm riding with Bryce Underwood and I'm riding with Tripp's pick this week. I guess we'll go 2 for 2. We split hairs.
We'll see on next week's episode how we're feeling.
See. Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for the college football part. So normally, guys, going forward, for everybody who's still listening, thank you. We appreciate you being here with us.
Absolutely.
We're going to normally do a splitting up an NFL and college episode, so won't be all at once. So you can listen to it in 2 parts if you'd like. We're here at about the hour and 15-minute mark. So if you want to, cancel it here or whatever, I'm just kidding. Keep listening, but we're going to go ahead and transition to the NFL part. Season's coming up this week. The most, I guess, the biggest anomaly in sports is the way the NFL maintains attention the entire year and builds anticipation. I mean, more people watch the NFL draft than NBA Finals games the past few years. I mean, it's absurd on what it does. So, we all love football. We're all very excited for it. As you can see, I got the good brother Jalen Walker jersey on. I'll be at the Falcons game. I'll have a rough weekend, dude. I'm going to have to leave Columbia at like 5, 6 in the morning because that's a night game. I have to leave at like 5, 6 in the morning, drive back to Atlanta to go to the Falcons game. So it's going to be a weekend of a lot of ball for me.
Sounds like a tough weekend.
I know. I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, so we got into a little bit of we were talking about our teams earlier. Obviously, Logan and I rooting for the home team Falcons. Graham, Queens get the money, stand up. Jets. One thing I'll give Graham. He is all the way through. He's Mets, Jets, Nets, and Islanders. He does it the right way. I got to give him that. But that doesn't mean he's not going through torment while he's alleging his fandom. So, but I mean, obviously,
you just named those teams, but you might as well have said depression, anxiety, anger, whatever way you want to flip it. Honestly, but yeah, to your point, man. I did kind of take the traditional route with the teams that I root for, but not that I got anything against any of our listeners or any of even my brothers on the panel here who got their own reasons for all the teams that they support. Actually, to go on a little bit of a side note, me and Logan have known each other for a long time. We've known each other since 6th grade. And when I met him, obviously one of the first things you come to know about somebody is where they moved from if you didn't go to elementary with him. So I'm like, where'd you move here from, man? And he told me he's from Mississippi. And I'm like, man, there's no sports teams out there. There's no pro teams. And he kind of put me on game with, how it kind of traditionally worked. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Logan. Out in Mississippi, a lot of people typically go for the Braves for their baseball team, right?
Yeah. So it just changed last year. The AA team was actually in Mississippi. So I grew up going to a lot of Mississippi Braves games. So it kind of translates to the Braves, Atlanta Braves. But I will not lie. I was also a Cardinals fan growing up. I loved the Cardinals.
Okay, that's right. Yeah,
David Freese, all of them. But, moving to Atlanta, growing up watching the Mississippi Braves, spending a lot of money on Braves tickets, I also followed that fandom along with pretty much every other home team other than Georgia, because that's one thing Mississippi does have is college football.
There we go. Yeah, for sure.
And most of them like the Saints, and you didn't do that. So I got to give you kudos for that one.
Can't rock with the Saints.
And Tripp is Eminem's cousin. That's why he likes the Lions.
No, I got some roots up there in Detroit. That's where a lot of my mom's family is from. Some of them still on 9 Mile, so maybe I am cousins with Eminem. Who knows? But yeah, go Lions, baby. Go Red Wings and go Lions. But my dad would kill me if I wasn't a Dogs fan. He raised me for college football. Mom's side of the family raised me for NFL. So Pops unfortunately doesn't care about the NFL, so was more into college. But as I got older, the family up north was like, oh no, you're gonna respect the NFL. So I was just born into being a Lions fan.
Well, our teams this weekend, yeah, I mean, kind of ties into one thing we were talking about. We'll start with the Lions and the Packers because I don't know if he's going to play because of the back injury. But, oh, my God, Micah Parsons to the Packers. It's funny to me. You go from obviously the biggest franchise in the sport to probably the most storied franchise in the sport. So I mean, he's been on both extremes. To me, assuming he's healthy, this shifts my pick for the NFC North. I thought it was going to be the Vikings. Which I'm not down on them, because the thing is, like last year, they had all but the Bears make the playoffs, so that very well could happen this year. But Parsons, I mean, historically, at his age, one of the best pass rushers of all time. So I'm really, really excited to see what he does for them. I think they're better than the Vikings at a lot of spots, and I think they're my pick to win the North now. Of course, the Lions losing Aaron Glenn, losing Ben Johnson could be very interesting to see. But I mean, it seems like Dan Campbell could. I mean, he could. I will run through a wall for that man right now, and I don't even care. That buy-in that he gets from players, from coaches, is second to none, and that translates to the field. So really excited to watch that one. I'm assuming that's going to be nationally televised. But Trip, tell us a little bit how you feel about your Lions, and maybe about that game, and anything in that realm.
Yeah, I know you touched on quite a few points, and I'll make sure to try to hit all of them. Like you said, lots of question marks. Both coordinators gone. That's a tough task to come back from. I don't care what team you are. Really disappointing into the season last year, going out in the playoffs to a young Commanders team, Jaden Daniels. But one thing I will say, we get a full year of Aiden Hutchinson again. He's going to be fully healthy and ready to go. Would have loved to see Micah Parsons be on the other side of that line with him instead of in that Packers uniform, but that's unfortunate. We weren't going to pay him what he was asking. So, but like you said, Dan Campbell, as long as he's, got the whistle around his neck, I'm for whatever he's for. So and I know we're going to get into our division picks here shortly. I think Micah Parsons obviously makes an instant impact depending on that spinal injury that we're hearing about, how quick he is going to be to jump into this lineup. I think obviously he makes an impact. I still have the Packers at second or third in this division. This is obviously the most stacked division, in my opinion. I think a lot of the question marks on this division is how does J.J. McCarthy perform for the Vikings, but with all the pieces surrounding him, it's going to be hard not to be successful. And then we'll see what the Lions can shake up this year as well with how they did yet last year as well. I mean, one of the reasons why I say that, last year, the Packers lost 6 games. 5 of those were within the division. So unless they can turn some things around with some of those games, I mean, Detroit swept them. Minnesota swept them last year as well. So I'd like to see them do better, obviously, but we'll have to see what happens with how long it takes Micah to get in that lineup.
All right. Well, we're like I said, we're going to get into the division things in a little bit, but love to hear. I like the little bit of the diversity we got in fandom here. So really enjoyable to hear all angles. Graham, you guys got the revenge tour. I mean, Logan will get into this too, because A-Rod is his guy. But you guys got the revenge tour this weekend.
I didn't know that, but I've never been an A-Rod hater, and I'm not salty about the breakup. I think it was best for both parties anyway. So no love lost there. I didn't know my boy Logan was an A-Rod believer, but yeah,
Believer.
Well, we all believers, but I didn't know he was your GOAT. But I guess to your point, Joey, as far
we can touch on it. We can touch on it, but I'll let you go ahead.
Oh man, I'm over here misspeaking, but no. To Joey's point about it being a revenge tour, I think that actually is a part of what's going into what truly makes me feel confident about picking in the Jets to win this game. I'll come right out and say it. I do think the Jets are going to walk away with a dub here. For one, I naturally always believe that a team with a brand new head coach has natural momentum. I mean, the coach is trying to come out and make a statement. There's players who know they've been brought in because they're this coach's guy and not the last regime's guy. They're coming out to make a point. Jets players notoriously come out every season trying to break the labels that are, always seem to be permanently attached to this team. And I think that just from a philosophical standpoint or whatever, word best describes it, the Steelers are on the complete 180 end of that spectrum. What is it that Mike Tomlin is trying to prove with this team that he knows is capable? We know that this team's not going to win a Super Bowl. I think it would be naive to assume that Mike Tomlin thinks this team can win a Super Bowl. It didn't even have anything to do with Rodgers' last stop at the Jets. I think Aaron was already showing us signs of this in his, latter days in his Green Bay time. I'm not going to say that the game has left him, but Rodgers isn't mobile enough in bad pockets, and this league is just too talented defensively to promise you elite, great, beautiful pockets all the time in the manner that I think it would take for Rodgers to lead this team to a Super Bowl. I'm not confident enough with what the Steelers have on the outsides offensively to really threaten teams, especially on the top end of this league. But I just really think the Jets are, they have more to play for in this game than the Steelers do. Aaron Glenn is coming from that coaching tree of Dan Campbell that you guys were just talking about, guys who make players want to run through walls for them. Aaron Glenn was drafted by the Jets, played under Bill Parcells. There's a lot of personal attachments when it comes to this game and how he's going to start off his tenure with this Jets team. And again, like I said, I just feel like the Steelers are on the back end of that. There's a lot of guys on that roster who I feel like are win now mixed with a lot of guys who are you even win capable, and it never translates well later on in the year in the locker room when you've got that, going on. So, I guess you guys can call me a homer for my pick, but I'm not going to say the Jets are going to win by 30. But let's go with a 24-17 Jets win. I think Justin Fields comes out, rushes for 2 tuds, and we air the ball out to Garrett Wilson for at least 1. Let's do it. Go Jets.
I like that. I do find that very interesting. We have very different opinions on the Steelers. I'll go ahead and say that. I am under the impression, kind of like talking about storied franchises here, Green Bay, Steelers obviously right in that mix. I love Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of the Kevin Durant of the NFL, the most efficient player we'll ever see. I'm big on Aaron Rodgers, have been for
that comparison.
Many, many years. You look at the numbers don't lie. Like you're talking about maybe the games passed on by, and I'm sitting here like looking like, did he watch the same second half of Aaron Rodgers that I watched? Because I am looking, he had a couple more picks than I thought the last 5. I'm looking at the last 5 game stretch. He's got 9 tuds. He's got 3 interceptions. He threw for 339, 289, 256, 274. And then he did have a pretty tough game against the Bills where he threw 2 picks, only threw for 112. It is the Bills, though, at the end of the day. But, I definitely felt like Aaron Rodgers, he's not MVP Aaron Rodgers. We all know that. He is older and whatnot. But he definitely was showing a glimpse of himself, putting the balls in places where only he can put them. And I was really big on how he ended the year last year. And I think getting a quarterback, Arthur Smith's taking over there. And you got Mike Tomlin. You're bringing in a guy like DK Metcalf. You go get Jonnu Smith. And then on defense, you lock up TJ Watt. You bring in Darius Slay. You bring in – who's the other cornerback they got?
Ramsey.
Say it again?
Ramsey.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey. You bring in 2 vets at cornerback.
And then you got CJ Porter backing them up. Look, Logan, not to cut you off, brother. I do agree with you that when it comes to not only what the Steelers represent on paper, but as a storied franchise, their pedigree as a ball club, absolutely. They wipe the floor with the Jets. There's no doubt about that. But I think that the Steelers are a great embodiment of what it means to plateau at something. You ever met that person who hit the gym hard as shit? There's no denying that they work hard, but they not getting no gains. You don't know what it is that they're not doing, but I didn't want to, I'm not gonna say no names. We've all been there, but that's what the Steelers remind me of, man. In so many ways, I just think that the Tomlin situation has been: is he in? Is he out? Are the Rooneys in or out on him? And the team kind of embodies that with how they treat every offseason. They never go all the way in on saying we're going to rebuild and go young. They never go all in on saying, you know what, we're going to actually buy the damn quarterback we know we can win a Super Bowl with, or trade the house money and get the draft pick we need to get a guy that we feel like we can run the house with. And I think there's a way of the league becoming as talented as it has. That type of stuff will catch up to you after a while. Do I think that the Jets are going to completely dethrone Mike Tomlin? No, I don't. But do I think in this week the Jets can come out and make a statement because they just got a little bit more to play for than the Steelers? That's kind of what I'm leaning on. But you made some great points, and I think your points that you're making with Aaron still having it from a passing standpoint will come to light because he's at least going to connect with DK at least once or twice. I'm confident in that, in that as well. Yeah.
And honestly, you took it down the road that I was kind of getting towards is plateauing. That's what the Steelers did. This is the first year we've seen the Steelers make moves like this ever. Like the Steelers don't make moves like this.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's kind of what brings more excitement to it. Is like you got Mike Tomlin bringing in weapons. Like, I mean, yes, Aaron Rodgers is on the backside of his career, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. You got DK. You get their
Is Broderick Jones still they starting right tackle?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I smell 8-8, Logan. Look, I love you. It ain't nothing personal. If Broderick Jones is still their right tackle, you're not winning more than 9 games in the National Football League.
And these are dog lovers right here. These
No,
are
I hear you, but I'm just saying that is what kind of like, because like you said, it's kind of like voters fatigue. You know, when someone's doing the same thing every year, you get voters fatigue, and that's kind of how the Steelers have been. They've always had that respect, but the last few years has definitely been a little bit of fatigue there, where it's like they're plateaued, like you're saying. But I think what makes it really interesting is them bringing in these guys, and they're veterans. Yes, they're guys are maybe at the end of their or towards the end of their career. However, it's the Steelers, it's Mike Tomlin, and I just can't help but not get excited for the Steelers. And I mean, you're right; they could be 9-8, but I also could see where they're like 13-4. You know,
Yeah.
It could go either way for me. I mean, there's the most famous clip of Mike Tomlin telling Chase Young how good he is and saying, "I'll never lose enough games to get a guy like you." And it goes back to what you're saying. It's like you either got to go full rebuild and just blow it up, or you just got to go be willing to spend the money. This is the first time we've ever seen the Steelers go make some moves, spend a little bit of money, bring in a handful of guys to try to improve, lock up TJ Watt. So that's kind of what gets me excited about the Steelers is like, okay, they're finally picking a side and not staying in the middle. It seems like they're trying to, and they're doing it where veterans, where like in 2 years, this don't matter because some of these guys, Aaron Rodgers will be retired, Slay might be, Ramsey might be, you know, like they're not handicapping their futures, the best way I could put it.
They're 37. Yeah, they're divorced, but they have no kids, a lot of money, and a hairline. Why aren't you making moves, bro? Like, go out and pop out. Like, what is you doing? Why are you always playing? That's my problem with them, bro. The Steelers they represent thumb twiddling to me, man. They always have the cards to make something shake, but for whatever reason, Mason Rudolph is who's on my TV screen in week 11 because they can't seem to draft a quarterback that's capable enough to just get them over the line or get there in a really tough division, a gauntlet, if you will. If we just being completely honest, I feel for every team that's in that division because I feel like if you plucked all 4 out and popped them anywhere else, they would all make a run. So, you know, but either way, man, I think that type of stuff does catch up to you. This league is a very ambitious league. You got young coaches, young coordinators who are always trying to prove their point to make their next move. And I just wonder what it is. I know this team knows they're not going to win a Super Bowl. I get that they brought in guys to be a winning ball club and be super competitive, but I don't see how they could have envisioned them getting over the hump. So if it's not that, what is it to entice Jalen Ramsey to play like the Ramsey we need him to play? Not the Ramsey that's in his last deal, but, you know, the Ramsey that's going to, you know, make a difference. But we'll carry on, man. I know we've been hitting on this for way too long.
Well, you know what? The thing about the Steelers are kind of like the guy who peaked in high school and always talks about that state championship game. And it's like, hey, man, you know, like Mike Tomlin never had a losing record, hadn't won a playoff game since 2016. You know, it's like that one guy, like, oh yeah, man, I remember. Yeah, you were pretty good in high school. You know, how's your family? I'm 27. You know, still work at the movies. Like
Joey, when's the last playoff win? When's the last playoff win? Yeah. So they keep making it, but when's the last win? It's like that's crazy. Bro. That's like crazy, bro.
You keep running into the guy from high school who's like, you know, you were cool with, but I mean, he's still trying to date the cheerleaders and you know still works at the movies. Like, hey, man, are you gonna do something? Hey, Mike Tomlin, are you could have a winning record? You gonna win a playoff game? I mean, and they are like the definition of being in limbo because they can't figure out, are we going to compete for a Super Bowl or are we going to add to Mike Tomlin's winning streak? Like one is not equal to the other. If you are in a division and I think the North, or the North is too good. The AFC North is too good of a division to you're not going to NFC South your way into a playoff spot. In the North, you're not going to go 8-9 and win a playoff game. That's more impressive than the winning record. You know, the winning record streak that he has, which impressive. But Mike Tomlin, you got to do something, player. Like this, the clock's running out. You got a 42-year-old quarterback.
Coughlin, Belichick. I'd even say Sean Payton to a degree. Pardon me. we never really saw any of these coaches go on to win the same way without their main guy. We never did. And Tomlin is right there in that boat still to this day. He has never been able to do what he was able to accomplish with Roethlisberger since then. And these newer, younger coaches, I just feel like they focus a little bit more about what complements the quarterback than just having a guy who they can constantly just heap the pressure on their shoulders game after game. But we'll see. I'm no football savant, but that's just my take on it, man. I think Tomlin, he's been a dead man walking since Roethlisberger's been out of there because he's who we knew could flip a game on his head. But either way.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, I think we're all in the same boat. It's the hot girl in high school that got a little fat,
Yeah.
We're all there. We've all said it. I even was pulling for the Steelers. I was on the side of
the Steelers like 4 different people, and none of them are 5. So about that.
Yeah. So,
Trip, were you about to add something in there?
No, y'all hit on everything. I'm not going to add in any more comparisons as to what.
Yeah, it's about to get fit. Yeah, it's about to get crazy.
Beating the dead horse. But I will say I went on that little rant about where the Packers are going to rank in the division. I didn't predict the game. We actually have to go play in Green Bay week 1 on the road, which is going to be a tough test. And I could very well be, shutting my mouth next week when we get back on here. But I do think the Lions pull this one out. I think we have the best running back duo in the country. It's not even a question, in my opinion. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, 1-2 punch. It's kind of hard to beat that. This whole season relies on Jared Goff. What Jared Goff are we going to see is going to determine our entire season. But I do think we go in there and handle business week 1. If Micah Parsons had shoulder pads on, I might have a different answer to that. But with him still being out, I think we take care of business.
I think my big thing with Goff is what I think is any NFL quarterback. When are you going to start winning because of this guy and not with this guy? That's the leap I think really good teams make. And Jared Goff obviously went to Super Bowl with, with the Rams and McVay, the offensive mastermind he is. I think that's a step the Lions have got to take. Is we're not winning we're winning games because he's our quarterback, not just because we have a good system. I think because we've seen that this team is last year they very well could have. They were just so injured, they won 14 games, 13, 14, however many it was, and had like 8 guys on defense hurt.
It was 15, by the way.
They won 50. That's right. You're right. I was thinking of the Vikings. The Vikings won 14.
But I do think going off Goff, no Goff hate will be tolerated around me. I got your back. I think Goff is easily top 10, and he's right on the cusp of top 5. He's not top 5, but he's right outside, in my opinion. I think Goff in Detroit has been excellent. I don't think Detroit ever imagined Stafford's replacement being anywhere close to what he is. And I do think they won games because of Goff last year when you got 8 guys on defense out like you're talking about. I mean, they were signing Jamal Adams and throwing him out there the same week they're signing him. I mean, you're talking about somebody who hasn't played meaningful football in years, I think Goff was Gibbs, the running back duo, obviously plays a big part. You got Sam Laporta, you got weapons, But I think Goff is – I think Goff's the truth. I think Dan Campbell has brought the absolute best out of Jared Goff. I really do.
And to touch on your point, I appreciate that, Logan. To touch on your point, Joey, as far as injuries go, I think that's another huge thing as to what's going to determine this season. Going into the playoffs last year, I think that we had 10 starters that were on the injured list going into that game with Aiden Hutchinson being one of those people who was out the whole year. So hoping that doesn't come around this year. I think that, the injury bug played its part last year, but hopefully that's not the case. And I think the Lions are right back to having a fantastic season again, depending on what we can do from a coordinator perspective. I just don't think there's a lot to change, really.
Trip, you guys had all those injuries and still finished, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think y'all finished number 4 total defense in the NFL last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is that remarkable, but I would like to take a moment to commend Woody Johnson's cruel, evil ass as one of my least favorite owners, not only my owner, but one of my least favorite owners in all of sports. He finally did get one thing right and get this hire right because Aaron Glenn was y'all's defensive coordinator during that stretch. I was super impressed with, our now head coaches defensive coordinator job that he did with the Lions last year with all those injuries. I think it was a huge factor that played a role in why we hired him, because how people are able to respond in times when things aren't convenient or going in your way is very attractive in this league. You got to be able to make adjustments throughout games, and I think Glenn showed us plenty of that, with the Lions. I think that the Lions, man, with J-Mo especially, like, I just think there's so many players on this team that scratch under the surface and kind of go under the radar that could be potentially a lot of other teams' number ones. Like, I think Tank Dell gets the same type of love that J-Mo is supposed to get. But if I told you that, he's as good as all those guys on the Texans, people would say I'm crazy. But I think I think he would start over all those guys. I'm taking J-Mo over all those guys. I wanted the Jets to draft J-Mo. I think J-Mo's ability to take the top off of a defense, I think J-Mo was honestly, that was going to be my hot take for you, Trip, when it came to your team. My hot take is the Lions' biggest conundrum that they're going to have this year from a personnel standpoint is St. Brown really the number one over J-Mo? Because I think that J-Mo kind of has the ability to scare defenses and make defenses react and change things more than what St. Brown does. St. Brown is a tremendous player. He's a great route runner. He's a great professional, and I think he's somebody who's important to y'all's locker room. But if I'm just going off of sheer talent, I'm wondering, man, is J-Mo truly y'all's number one? So it's a good damn problem to have for sure. That might be why y'all end up winning the division. But, same thing with y'all's running back room. Good problems to have, man. It's good to have two number ones, I guess.
Yeah, you won't hear me complain about being loaded, that's for sure. I mean,
yeah, an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, I mean, Jameson has an argument for it. I don't think that take is crazy at all. I mean, obviously, I think St. Brown is obviously one of those faces of the franchise, so he's kind of given that torch just for that alone. But from a talent perspective and just pure grit, it's kind of hard to count J-Mo out of that conversation. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's crazy at all. I think we could see a season where he could outperform St. Brown. Well, who knows? I mean, just depends on how we tailor the offense with the new coordination going on. So, but yeah, I could 100% agree with you on that take.
Well, I guess that means we got to wrap up our teams with these weenie ass Falcons. No, I'm just playing. I'm actually, me personally, because of the draft and the investment. I mean, obviously, getting my boy Walker at 15 was a steal. Can't believe he was there. And then you trade up and get James Pierce, which I don't care. I'm so tired of people. I was tired of they gave away too much. Like, if you think he's better than anybody that you're going to get next year, go through with it. Worst comes to worst, we can always trade up and, trade back into the first round. That's not really anything I'm worried about. But I mean, I'm talking about getting guys like Billy Bowman from Oklahoma. He's supposed to be playing a lot of nickel this week. Xavier Watts, who we watched play super well last year, especially against what's their heads? Georgia, when he was at Notre Dame. So really excited about that. But the thing that really kills me, kind of, I guess, dampened my excitement, if you will, was the season-ending injury to Caleb McGarry. Right tackle, which is Michael Penix's blind spot. I feel really good about the weapons, the talent on offense. This is like we're making the comparisons earlier. Kyle Pitts is my toxic ex. I keep going back thinking things are going to change, but time and time again, clearly, it doesn't happen. But I feel really good about, I think Drake London is going to be lead the league and, be top 5 in the league in receptions. That's just my hot take. I think Bijan is going to be, I think right now he's worst case, the third best running back in the league. Worst case, top 5, best case behind Saquon. Whichever way you want to swing it. Somebody could probably argue that better than me. But I'm really excited to see how that takes off. But God, that injury scares me, and I just feel like it's an omen for bad things to come. So we'll see if the Falcons Falcon, if you will.
You guys got a lot to be excited about as Falcons fans. I mean, y'all had a hell of a draft, arguably the best draft of any team this year. Got a lot of young guys with a lot of, the ceiling is, I mean, the sky's the limit for you guys right now. I mean, so as a Georgia native, I have to be, somewhat of a fan of the Falcons. I'm super excited to watch the Falcons this year. I think Michael Penix is electric for any fan base, whether you're a Falcons fan or not, to watch. He's just a hell of a football player in general. But coming off that draft, I mean, I was blown away. That's the first time we've seen the Falcons have a draft like that since as long as I can remember. I mean, other than, getting Bijan a couple years ago and things of that nature. But I would be as ecstatic as possible if I was sitting in your shoes right now, Joey. And
I do feel good. I'll be honest. Like, I feel good. It's just like when we have such a young quarterback, a guy who's coming to his first year as an undisputed starter, and your blindside tackle goes down. Like, that is, and Falcons last year, for everything that they were horrible at, had a great offensive line. That's definitely one of the strengths. Penix had a lot of clean pockets, and he spent a lot of, the offseason getting chemistry with the guys. I mean, Mooney really came on last year, had a great season. Again, I'm not going to comment on the Toxic X and Michael Penix, but I mean, and Kyle Pitts. But again, worst comes to worst, Kirk Cousins is the backup. I think he's going to finish the season as a Falcon. And from what everybody, all the radio interviews, all the players say, he's handling it super well. Kirk is very loved in the locker room no matter what. So it definitely bodes well having that caliber of a quarterback. I really think he ends the season as a Falcon. So we'll see. We got Tampa this weekend. They had a team that we swept in the division last year and the team that also won the division because of the good brother Kirk Cousins having a 1-9 TD ratio over 4 games. Was just awful after his 500-yard performance. So we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm leading with.
I agree with what Tripp's saying, and you're saying the draft. If this is the first time in years that it felt like the Falcons did the right thing in the draft, which in hindsight, maybe they did the right thing drafting Penix. Like that's gonna get determined probably this year. But this year, it felt like they made all the smart moves, bringing in defense, bringing guys who can get to the quarterback, most importantly, because Lord knows the Falcons could not do that if your offensive line laid down, we wasn't getting to your quarterback last year. It was abysmal. So it's nice to see them finally making the smart moves, bringing in guys like Walker, hometown, getting him in the locker room. And then to touch on you saying you think London could be top 5 in receptions, that's kind of how I feel about Bijan too. They both could be top 5. And not even just receptions, yards could be up there. I mean, he had a
That's what I said. I said receiving yards.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, rushing yards could be the same thing with Bijan. Like you're saying that, like he's clear cut top 5 at least. I mean, him and Gibbs are good comparables. I think both young, both shifty, both can do a lot of things out of the backfield. But I do think it'll be interesting to see if we can kind of like the Lions find that good middle ground to keep them fresh, bringing in Algier and keeping that balance going. But also, we got to figure out that right tackle side to start. So I think Falcons, like Tripp saying, a lot of reasons to be excited. I'm not like Falcons lose, it doesn't ruin my day. I root for the Falcons because I live here, So, but it's fan of football, so it's got to root for the home team, and you don't got to, but I do. So I think Falcons got a lot to look forward to. Honestly, I feel like everyone in here, every fan base, even you, Graham, got a lot to look forward to. I mean, you guys going to get Justin Fields is big as well. I mean, he showed out with the Steelers in his opportunities last year. Joey will tell you, people used to say the Falcons should get Justin Fields, and I thought it was crazy. I've never really been a believer in Justin Fields as an NFL quarterback, but you can't argue with what the man did last year. I mean, he did put up numbers. They won football games with him behind center. So, I mean, I think literally everyone here has something to be excited for NFL finally kicking off.
Yeah, I think Fields went 5-1 during his 6 starts with the Steelers. So as much as his numbers didn't pop off like, the board, like as far as from a box score standpoint, to your point, he showed out in the sense of he finally did some of the mature quarterbacky things that you kind of want to expect from not an OG veteran, but somebody who's going into his second deal. This isn't a guy who's trying to play for his first deal. This is a guy who's established in the league. He's now got his second deal. Obviously, there's things that you got to factor into his development, like the fact that this is his 3rd team and will be like his 5th or 6th offensive coordinator that he's played for during his time in the NFL. So there are things that I weigh into his evaluation that, I try and take the good and the bad and be optimistic about everything moving forward. But he did show me, at least last year with the Steelers, that you know what, I can play within a system. I can play within a game plan. I can trust a process when it comes to a coach that I know is in a position to kind of facilitate and help me be a facilitator. I'm not taking it as a slight. I'm not taking it personally. I'm going to take it as truly, you know, somebody who's trying to help me, you know, benefit from this, just like the team is going to benefit from us ultimately winning. You got to show those things as a quarterback, especially as somebody who's quote unquote unproven, like Fields is. He has flashed plenty, but he is unproven. And I think that him continuing to trust the OCs that people put around him as much as it came to a fault in places like Chicago. I think, you know, for those who don't know, we grabbed a guy from Detroit to also be our OC, Tanner Engstrand. It's his first time being an OC, but he was like y'all's passing game coordinator in Detroit. A really young, bright offensive mind. I like him a lot so far from what he's shown me through camp. And I think that within his first interview, he hit on the fact that he's trying to compliment Justin and what he did. And that has shown throughout the preseason. And as long as Justin can continue to trust him and play within the system that he's trying to develop, I think this team can at least get 6 wins. I know we were supposed to also give our predictions for the division. I think that the Bills will run away with it. I don't see them losing more than 3 times this year. But I've actually got the Dolphins sliding into 3rd above us and the Patriots bumping above them and maybe winning a wild card spot. As much as it pains me to say it, Drake May looks to be solid. And this Patriots team does look like, with the addition of Stephon Diggs, that, you know, with that running game that they always trust and lean on, they're going to be able to let that defense, you know, shine, with Gerard Mayo obviously keeping his hands close onto that defense. Yeah, I don't have any faith in Miami this year, y'all. I don't like the direction that team is heading into. Not too much of a Tua believer. So if I had to put my money on either Tua or, you know, buying the Drake May hype, give me the Drake May hype. I'll take the Patriots taking 2nd.
Well, I was going to say, before we transition into that, the Steelers started out 3-1 last year, so right track. But it's crazy to start 3-1 and then get benched for a guy who is Russell Wilson and his age, which kind of is indicative of the Steelers. What we were saying earlier is, what the hell are we doing? But yeah, so we're going to get into the. And funny enough, I was actually going to start out with the AFC West or East. I think pretty much it'll be a safe pick for the Bills, but I do agree. I think the Patriots could be a sleeper. I mean, you bring Vrabel in there, and you know, there's something about guys, and obviously, Graham, you know this, or you know the feeling of this now. There's something about guys being in places that they played, like Mike Vrabel, like Aaron Glenn, that kind of gets me, you know, thinking that they know what this means, especially the tradition of the Patriots. Mike Vrabel, 3-time Super Bowl champ. I think he caught 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
With those, you know, fluky plays. But I do think the Patriots could be a sleeper team. Dolphins, like, you're not bought into it. I'm not really either. Clearly, Tyreek, there's something up with Tyreek Hill in that locker room. You know, he's mentioned, hey, I don't want to be a leader on this team. When your best player says that, that's pretty disheartening. I don't know how in the world. I mean, I guess I know, but Mike McDaniels, I think, has been in his job too long. I think he is one of the names that gets one of the guys who gets kicked at the end of the year, the coaching cycle, when they miss the playoffs again. So I'm definitely anticipating that. But yeah, so I would say the Bills, but don't be surprised about the Patriots. Graham, I love the allure of the New York Jets, of New York sports in general. But I think there's a lot of growing pains to figure out with that team. I think, obviously, you know, there are a lot of guys on defense. And kind of like we're going to talk about with Georgia and Alabama here in a few weeks, it's hard for me to pick the Jets to do anything well until they do it. Like, that's really where I stand at with them, personally. But Trip, Logan, when do you guys want to give your East predictions?
I'll go ahead because I'm going to keep it pretty short, solely because, kind of like what everybody's saying, it's the Bills division. If the Bills lose that division, it's going to be real loud in Buffalo. It's going to be some crazy that, or one of these teams just popped off out of nowhere. You know, it's going to be something absurd. But I would definitely say Bills. I'm in the same boat as what you guys are saying. I was not a Tua believer in Alabama. I've never seen someone have
Agreed.
a wide
Except for when he broke my heart.
Never seen someone have the wide receiver room that he had when he was at Alabama. And I mean, yeah, they won games and he made some hell of a throws, plays, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I was always more Hurts over Tua. Granted, they made the right decision. They won a championship with Tua and all that. But never really been big on Tua. It is insane to think, 2-3 years ago, there's all that hype around Miami. Seems like that division was at their fingertips almost. You know, it's definitely between them and the Bills. But it's kind of crazy to see the slide they've had, but it doesn't help when your quarterback, every time his helmet hits the ground, is getting concussed. So I just very easily think this is the Bills, and it would be very shocking if anyone else even pressures them in that division.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bills here as well. As long as Josh Allen is under center, it's going to be kind of hard to pick against them. But I do think that the Patriots had a fantastic draft as well. I think with the addition, I believe it was Trayvon Henderson they got in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Ramondre Stevenson, I think, are going to be a hell of a duo back there. I think that anytime you include Mike Vrabel in the conversation as far as coaching goes, that's only a plus. I don't see any negatives to that whatsoever. He reminds me of just your old-fashioned smash-mouth football that fits perfectly into that Patriots style. So I do think that the Patriots, are a couple more big free agents, maybe a couple more drafts away from being someone that can knock the Bills off. But like Joey said, I could see that being a sleeper pick for someone. But I am going to have to ride out the Bills on this one.
Talk about Logan.
I'll touch briefly on Vrabel because I love Mike Vrabel. Joey knows last year I was like, dude, if the Falcons don't go get Vrabel, I'm going to be pissed. And they didn't. I was pissed. I wanted Vrabel. I thought Vrabel was the guy, I do love Mike Vrabel. And to kind of touch on what you were saying, Joey, absolutely respect Kraft for knowing Vrabel's out there, knowing he might go get a job somewhere else. And he kind of did the Georgia method. Sorry, Mark Richt, you're out of here. It's time to go get Kirby Smart. He's not leaving. He's not suiting up for anyone other than the Georgia Bulldog head coach. That's kind of what they did. They went and got their guy. They said Mike Vrabel is not going to wear any other shirt other than the Patriots. So that was kind of cool to see. And I really do like Mike Vrabel. So just wanted to touch on that since I kind of just glossed over the Patriots. But I think in the next few years they could be a problem because Drake May has shown some glimpses.
Yeah, I'm buying. All right, if we're gonna buy, we'll turn our opinions on players into stock. Drake May's stock right now is real cheap. I'd buy it up if I were y'all.
I'm throwing my 401k in on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm big on that. All right, let's move to the north. So we've got the Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and Steelers. I think we can already obviously go ahead and put the bet who's going to be last place in this division. One, Browns, obviously, with the quarterback that they're paying $1 jillion a year being out probably for the season.
Flacco.
Yeah, Joe Flacco leading the way. I mean, obviously they drafted Shador and Dylan Gabriel, so that is a disaster like no other. Obviously, that franchise, they've got they somehow fleeced Myles Garrett to staying. But you hear to hear. I'm going to say it right now. September 3rd, 9:43 p.m. Do not be surprised if before the season ends or next offseason, Myles Garrett is a Cowboy. You heard it here. I'm just going to say that. My pick for this division, I got to pick the Ravens. I think there's going to be two playoff teams from this division. I think you're going to have the Ravens and the Bengals. The Bengals finally did what they should have been doing, getting their guys paid. Obviously, a few years ago, you signed Burrow. This offseason, you pay your 1 and 2 receiver, Jamar Chase, the best receiver in the league, and Joe Burrow, in my opinion. I think the two best quarterbacks in this division or in the sport are in this division. I think Joe Burrow. I am a huge Joe Burrow guy. I thought he wouldn't. All that running around he did at LSU, I was like, this ain't gonna do nothing in the NFL. And last year he threw 45 tuds and 9 picks. It's just that defense. His offensive line. Last year, me and Trent were looking at this in our office. Just as a reference, Josh Allen was sacked 14 times last year. I want Graham and Logan. Give me your guess how many times Joe Burrow was sacked last year.
I'm going 30. Has to be double.
Okay.
Yeah, give me 26.
48.
That's Eli Manning numbers, bro.
48
That's crazy work.
times.
Yeah, I think Eli did actually hit 50 once or twice with the Giants. Funny enough, no BS. So
Hey, I wasn't kidding when I said that's Eli numbers. He was on his back a lot in New York.
Yeah.
But I really, I don't think they're going to be better than Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore, to me, Lamar Jackson probably the best quarterback in the league. You know, if I had to go with that, should have won MVP last year. We're going to discuss that at another time. But probably should have won MVP last year. I mean, I think not Bengals level of receivers, obviously, but there's a lot of weapons around there. Zay Flowers is a great option. You got 2 great tight ends, probably the second best running back in the league. You got a great offensive line. And, I mean, I think you're going to see Malachi Starks do a lot to that defense. I mean, him and Kyle Hamilton, that's a dream come true. Something about safety, I feel like it's obviously not an easy position to play. It's a very smooth transition from the guys who are really good in college at safety to being really good in the NFL. Like we saw with Kyle Hamilton. I think they got Kyle Hamilton 2.0. So I really it's going to be hard for me to pick against the Ravens. So that's who I'll take. But I think the Bengals are making the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Joey.
My bad, Trip. I was gonna say y'all can save my take. I agree with Joey. You don't add guys like Malachi and Mike Green in the first round to an already loaded defense and not get better and stay really good. So I'm rolling with Joey's exact same 2 picks. I had them going 1 and 2. Go ahead, Trip. My bad, brother.
No, funny enough, we were about to say the same exact thing. I agree 100% with the both of you. As long as Lamar Jackson is healthy and Derrick Henry's in that backfield, it's going to be hard to stop that offense. I don't care who you are. I do have Bengals picked. They come in right behind them in the division as well. I mean, I could see a world where those 2 things are flipped, but kind of like Joey said before, until I'm proven otherwise, I'm riding the bus.
Yeah,
so,
a couple of injuries. I mean, I guess if Zay Flowers isn't healthy, if that hamstring is still bothering him, you got a good point, Trip. I mean, T. Higgins is still on that roster. They did still bring Hendrickson back. They might have a momentum going for them. They might have a mindset to where they know everybody like 4 Joes like us down in Atlanta are picking the Ravens to go unanimously in first, unless Logan is going to pick, the Bengals. Maybe he'll surprise me, but I got a good feeling that he rolling with my boy Lamar, just like, us 3 are, and for very good reasons. But maybe them boys are within that, that mindset this year to where they're ready to make it back to the Super Bowl. So many of us forget that these guys made it to a Super Bowl so early on in their career. They're an impressive tandem, them two, Joe, and obviously our boy Jamar. So, Logan, what you got, man? Who you got going first?
We're all in the same boat. Ravens, the biggest. I'm kind of with Trip though. I can see it where it's flipped, but my biggest thing with the Bengals is it's been 3 straight years that they've started off like 1 and 3 or whatever it is. Like they start out of the gates real slow, and it's when you got a team like the Ravens in your division, you can't start off slow because the Ravens aren't starting off slow. So I think that's my biggest thing is why I'm like 100% going with the Ravens here is because the Bengals just start out of the gate slow. Joey's right. They paid their guys. They got Jamar back. They got T. Higgins back. They should have extended Hendrickson longer and not just gave him some run-of-the-mill 1-year deal. He is a sack king. Pay the guy, give the guy his money. He's earned it. But, I mean, one pickup that I think it's an old head pickup, but the Ravens also did pick up D-Hop. And I know he's not the D-Hop of old, but I think in the red zone, that just adds more pressure because you already got Mark Andrews who's catching touchdowns almost every game. I think he had 11 touchdowns last year, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, you already got a big target down there. Got guys like Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, who's speedy, but then you have somebody who can route you up like D-Hop. That's a problem. And then we're not even talking about the legs that is in the backfield of Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, they got weapons that can run all over anybody, throw all over anybody. Ravens they're built to be a true Super Bowl contender, I think.
What was you said something earlier that I was going to counter, but I think I lost it. Maybe you're just 100% right. Damn, what was it? I had something good, I feel like.
But I do love Joe Burrow. I'm with you on this, Joey. Joey knows I love Joe Burrow at LSU when he was killing Ole Miss. Joe
Yeah.
Burrow,
He was killing Georgia too. So
probably the best college season I've ever seen.
God, I had something good. I forgot what it was. I don't remember when I'm in the shower. I know it. All right. So we're going to go AFC South. This is where I think I'm going to get some disagreements because finally I need somebody to disagree with me. And I'm not saying this as a troll. I truly believe this. I'm taking the Jags.
Oh, man.
I'll disagree with you.
Yeah, I will too.
I'm serious. I think, and obviously, you know, the first year coach, Graham was talking about the pressure earlier. There is a lot of that and kind of integrate with your guys. But I think a year of healthy, because, you know, they shut Trevor Lawrence down after a while. They shut him down. But I also think, you know, Brian Thomas Jr. really coming to his own as one of the, you know, probably the top 10 receivers in the league. I think he's really, really good. You know, who is it? What's his name? I mean, obviously they signed Travis Hunter. So I saw today his first string receiver is going to be starting receiver, second string cornerback. So I'm really interested to see that. But Travis Hunter, I don't think is an incredible route runner, but I think he is an electric presence on any field that he's on. Cohen is an offensive-minded guy. I think another person I'm a toxic X with is Trevor Lawrence. Maybe it's because I'm in Cartersville. Maybe I have an extra love for him. But I'm bought in on this being Trevor Lawrence's year where he figures it out. And I think they take the South.
I mean, like I said, I'd be more than happy to disagree with you. I think Trevor Lawrence, if he's going to figure it out, he needs to figure it out soon because he's, to me, just like Justin Herbert, where we put him on a pedestal at the beginning of every season, and then we get the same results we've been getting for the last few years. So for me, my pick for this division is going to be with the Texans. I know they had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think adding Nick Chubb to that backfield, God, please, I hope he stays healthy for once in his career. I think that adds a nice mix to it. I believe Joe Mixon's out with an injury. So
start off the year, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a few weeks before we see him back, but I think them two as a 1-2 punch is going to be a hell of a thing to stop. So I think this is CJ Stroud's revenge tour. I believe they take the division by storm. I think this is another one of those divisions that's just very weak. I don't have any belief in Tennessee. I for sure don't have belief in the Colts. That's for sure. But you know, it could be wrong. But that's going to be. I'm going to keep it short and sweet for the sake of time. But I think that it's Texans.
All right, I'll go off that. Texans clearly. I don't even think it's a discussion, to be honest. Granted, I don't think they're like a 13, 14-win team, but I do think the Texans are by far the best team in that division. However, me and Tripp are going to be a little indifferent and definitely indifferent if you think the Jags are going to win. I think the Titans might be the second best team in this division. I think Cam Ward, I don't know, something about Cam Ward. I'm buying into the Cam Ward hype, I'll be honest. And I think when you got guys like Calvin Ridley next to him, and there's one more receiver I'm blanking on right now. They just got Tyler Lockett as well. I think two veteran receivers like that could really be a nice kind of like blanket for him, you know, to rely on those guys and down in there. But I'm not gonna lie, something about me just thinks Cam Ward might light it up his rookie year. And I'm not saying light it up in a sense of like they're gonna make playoffs, but I think he could have very good numbers and really take care of the football. So I'm just Colts, when you got Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson in your quarterback room, good fucking luck. That's all I can say.
That is the worst.
Like, there's nothing more you can say. You know, Danny Dimes is not that guy. And then Trevor Lawrence, him and Kyle Pitts, you're talking about the ex-girlfriend thing, but it's just at this point, I don't even want to talk about it. Just prove it. Just prove it. That's all I can say about Kyle Pitts or Trevor Lawrence. It's time for them to nut up or shut up, you know.
My toxic exits. I love them both, and I'm going to keep coming back.
So I'm going to go with Texans, and I'm in the same boat as Tripp as well. As Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon healthy could be a dangerous backfield. And honestly, having both of them, hopefully they're splitting carries enough where they both can stay healthy, and it could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the panel has all made some really important and valid points about all, you know, the teams in this division. The Colts are rightfully the unanimous last, you know, place team across the board for the panel in this division. I hold the same opinions as you guys do as far as their quarterback room. and its ceiling. Anytime the ceiling of y'all's quarterback room is resemblant of a 2023 New York Jets quarterback room, which I can tell you about personally. I mean, we talking about guys like Mike White, Zach Wilson, and a lot of other names that we're not going to mention for
That's brutal.
Valid reasons, but they're going to stink in the same manner. You got two quarterbacks that both can't even play beyond their own inefficiencies religiously. That's both been their MOs to a fault. So they're unanimously last. I'll go ahead and say that I think my first place pick is going to have to go with to the Texans. The sophomore slump is over with CJ Stroud. Even if he doesn't bounce back to the same magnitude and play to the same heights that he was playing at as a rookie, if he can just not turn the ball over as frequently as he did last year. This year, I think the Texans will be perfect. They got way too loaded of an offense and way too many complementary pieces around CJ Stroud for him to just, continue playing beside himself. He is a guy who, even at Ohio State, he showed us, even within all my capabilities, I know how to let my pieces shine around me as well. I know how to let pieces around me do the work for me. He is a guy who can hop out and scramble, as he pleases. He's athletic enough. He can definitely get around whenever he needs to. But I see him kind of just settling, into the pocket and playing into that offense a lot more like how he did his rookie year this year. And for that reason, D'Amico and those boys and that really, really electric defense with our boys like K3 on the outside, Stingley on the outside. That team is built to make a run. It's just when you got two lockdown corners on both sides of the football, when you got three damn receivers who could go on and basically be a number 2 or a number 1 guy anywhere else that they play in the league, it don't damn near matter who you got playing quarterback. You could pop Purdy on that team, and he could make the same type of run that he could make with a good 49ers team when they've got the complementary pieces around them doing what they need to do. They've done an excellent job with, CJ and that young core down there. So they run away with first place for me. I don't give a damn who takes second and third. I can't stand this division. They constantly put teams that are damn near 1 or 2 games under 500 into the playoffs because they stink so bad. I hate the AFC South, man. Back when my team was winning 10 games and 9 games for the first time in a long time, we couldn't win a wild card spot because these stank ass teams down in the AFC South was taking up playoff spots with 8 and 7 wins, man. I used to get, so mad about that, but who cares who takes second and third? I got the Texans running away with it for sure, though.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the wrong one. So we'll see. We got one more division to wrap it up with in the West, which I think is going to be, in the AFC is the West. I think, like we said, the NFC North probably the best division. I personally think this is the second best division in the sport. I think the Chargers are really good. I think the Chiefs are the Chiefs. As long as Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes are there, they're probably going to win the division. But I'm not going to lie to you. My pick to win this division, going back to my old home, I'm taking the Broncos.
I knew it. I knew it.
I'm taking the Broncos. Listen, you have the best – corner's a weird possession, but I mean, you had the reigning defensive player of the year. That defense was really, really good last year. Pretty sure they led the country or the league in sacks. And I mean, one person I was never bought into until I saw him play last year was Bo Nix. I'm bought into Bo Nix being a good receiver. Offensively, they do have some questions. Figure it out. And I think they've got to learn how to win with Bo Nix being their quarterback. And I don't mean he needs to learn how to win, but know that, hey, this is our guy. We can win with him. Like the Chiefs have Pat Mahomes. Eventually, all dynasties crumble. It all comes to an end eventually. You either, die the hero or live long enough to see yourself. Or actually, I was going the wrong way with that. But you guys know what I'm saying. So with that, I am going the Broncos to win the AFC West.
I'm not mad at that. Yeah, I'm not either. I'm gonna go next solely because mine's gonna be pretty short and sweet, especially since time's running long here. But I'm gonna say the Chiefs, but I'm not going to be surprised. It kind of reminds me of LeBron's run in Cleveland. It came to a point where they weren't worried about first seed anymore. They were more like, let's get to the playoffs and figure it out from there. And I could see the Chiefs kind of getting to that this year. I'm still going to pick the Chiefs because it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they sneak in their wild card spot just because they're more focused on, playoffs versus regular season. I could see that happening. However, I can see the Broncos and Chargers both fighting for playoffs. I think Broncos would probably be a little better, in my opinion. Defense is what's really kind of leaning me that way, and Bo Nix obviously lit it up. But who knows, kind of like Graham's saying about the Texans, maybe he hits a little sophomore slump. Talking about Bo Nix here. Maybe he hits a little sophomore slump, but I do think the Chargers have a pretty good team. Broncos, Raiders aren't terrible, but they're unfortunately in a division of juggernauts. So I think it's going to be a very tough division, but it's hard to go against the Chiefs with their proven track record the last, 7 years. So,
yeah,
I'll go Chiefs here.
I like rolling with Joey's pick and going with the Broncos coming out of nowhere and taking this division. I think I like it so much that I'm going to steal it. I'm going to go with the Broncos winning this division, and I only say that for this reason. I think that the football gods are going to have to act so swiftly because of the Swifties and everything else that's attached to this damn fucking football team. They get 2 curse words out of me because I can't stand them. They get a lot of help from the refs and every other reason that we ain't going to go on the list as to why every person who's not a fan of the Chiefs hates them. But I'm going to say this. The football gods would have to act swiftly as far as getting this team back into shape, as far as competing and maximizing Patrick Mahomes' window. And I think that is going to happen because the Broncos win the division this year. I think that the front office and everyone else attached to the Chiefs are going to be propelled to make the decisions like either convince Travis Kelce to walk away from the game and retire or take a trade, because there's things that we can do with the cap space on this team that would help us get better in a lot of other areas if you weren't on it. And the game has left them from, the Travis Kelce that we knew just from a few years ago. It has. And so I think there are a few pieces that have to get moved off of this team, and they have to shift in some younger talent for them to, keep Spagnuolo, keep the core, keep Andy, keep Spagnuolo. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the quarterback of that team for years to come. He on like a Shohei Ohtani contract. He'll be here for years to come. But they do need to, I think they need to get a little bit more exciting and more consistent on offense, especially from the running back standpoint. They need to figure out how to establish the running game and a couple of other things to get back to that, Super Bowl favorite level Chiefs that we know. I think the Broncos winning the division, maybe with only 10 or 11 wins, is what could do it. I'll pass it to Trip with that. But thank you, Joey, for letting me steal your point, bro. I really appreciate that. I originally had the Chiefs, but I liked it so much I went ahead and snagged it, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to start this off by saying I'd be ignorant for taking the Bills and the Ravens in their division with those arguments and not say the Chiefs here. You got to knock them off their high horse out of this division. But if we were to circle back at the end of the season, you were to tell me the Broncos won this, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So with that being said, I really think that we're a few years away from this division being right back to where it used to be and being an absolute juggernaut across the board. I mean, I even like what the Raiders got going on right now. I mean, with Pete Carroll running the show, you got the best tight end in football, arguably, in Brock Bowers over there. You just added Ashton Genty in the backfield, and I'm a big Geno Smith guy. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league by any means, but I like him with that system. So I do think they can make some shake as well. I am going to pick the Chiefs here. But I do love the Broncos pick. Not going to sleep on the Chargers 100%. Second-year lad McConkey, Justin Herbert with the talent he has, and anybody that's playing under Jim Harbaugh is going to be successful. So, rolling with the Chiefs, but we could be rolling the dice with any of these teams.
Yeah,
I got a quick little tidbit for y'all guys, and this is for all the fellas on the panel, man. I saw an interesting stat the other day about your boy Geno, Trip, that really stood out to me, because if I'm correct, I think Allegiant Stadium is the name of that stadium that the Raiders have up there, that new stadium that they built.
Correct.
Yep.
And if I'm correct, it is a retractable roof, right?
Correct.
Do you know our boy Geno Smith is like 65% winning percentage his career when playing in indoor or retractable roof settings?
Really?
Wow.
I saw a guy who pointed that out and was like, man, I really like Geno. I'm smashing the Geno for, generating more than 9 wins this year because he gets to play, something like 7 or 8 games at that home stadium that has a retractable roof. So, which I don't think in Seattle is the case. Seattle is always open. So, a little bit different. Obviously, they also get a lot of rain out there in Seattle. But I think that not to be, get carried away with with a stat that, may not mean anything at the end of the day. But maybe it does translate to Geno playing a little bit better when he doesn't have to be in such terrible weather. Las Vegas typically is not going to give you as much bad weather as Seattle. So, I'm not mad at that pick either. Trey, maybe they are a little dark horse wild card pick. If they can get a run going with Geno and Brock, them two alone can at least get you 4 or 5 wins in this league if you play your cards right. So I'm not mad at that either.
I don't know what sicko pulled that stat, but that's my kind of sicko right there. That is a sicko.
Crazy?
As a gambling man, I love that stat.
That is a sicko. I'll be happy. And I think the Cardinals and Rams in the same division also play indoors. I don't know if their roofs are retractable, but they definitely play indoors.
I think the Rams' new stadium definitely is. I'm not sure about the Cardinals, but for sure the Rams is. Yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and jump into the NFC and wrap this thing up. We already went over the North. I think we pretty much all spoke about that when we were talking about Trips Lions. So we'll go on to the East, which is every time these teams play each other, it feels like it's Thanksgiving. I don't know how to describe it better than that, but it does feel like it's Thanksgiving. I'm rolling with the Eagles again. Reigning Super Bowl champs. I know they did lose, you lost Slay, Chauncey Gardner. But I think that core is legitimate. You still got, obviously, you've got Hurts, you've got Barkley, still got Smitty, still got A.J. Brown. I mean, they've got so many guys. That defense is only going to keep getting better with all those dogs. Shout out to our good boy Smile, the good brother Smile, Paulding County alum and dog alum. Had the best linebacker coach ever when he was in 6th grade. I do have to give him that. But I'm rolling with them. I know somebody may want to pick the Commanders. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, sell your 2025 Jaden Daniels stock right now. Sophomore slump is coming his way. I do feel that the Giants are a conundrum, as Graham said earlier. They only have one more win in the past 10 years than the Jets do. So I know that they are a disaster with 2 Super Bowl bows on top. That's what they are. But expect them to not be able to figure it out. And the Cowboys, those goofballs, I'm not picking that team to do anything until Jerry Jones is gone. I know that's like the consensus joke, but clearly he's more concerned. He's concerned with winning, but it's on his terms. He's more concerned with the brand than winning playoff games. And nothing good will happen until he is no longer the owner or sells the team, whatever that may be. But yeah, rolling Eagles, sell your Jaden Daniels stock.
Give me the Eagles as well. Yep.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Sorry, Graham. I'm gonna take Eagles myself. Kind of hard to bet against the team that's proven it already with the core that they have, like you said, Joey. As far as Cowboys go, I'm not even gonna go into that spill. At least CeeDee Lamb has a cool first down celebration that's now banned. That's all I'm gonna say. That's about all they got going for them. They did add George.
He can't do it anymore.
No, they banned it.
They banned
it. He can't do his finger point no more.
Nope, no more of this.
No.
At this rate, he's not going to get that many of them this year anyway. But they do add George Pickens into the receiver core, which is obviously a plus. That guy's just an absolute athlete of a wide receiver. But I've actually got them finishing second to last over the Giants in this division. I am going to take the Eagles, but I am absolutely not selling a single Jaden Daniels stock. I think that the hype around him is as legit as it comes. Maybe we can circle back on this at the end of the season and me and Joey can go head to head on this, but I'm all in on Jaden Daniels. I mean, when I said 401k on whatever else we were betting on, I'm throwing in my dad's retirement fund on top of it for Jaden Daniels. So yeah, give me Eagles, but Commanders sleeper pick as well.
I'll let you go ahead, Graham, since you were chomping at the bit a second ago.
No, I mean, to Joey's point, yeah, the Eagles are they're too stacked from top to bottom for me to, stray away from them with my pick. I actually wasn't going to do too much of a deep dive on this division, just because I know I hit on a couple of points with the AFC teams, in typical Homer fashion. But yeah, give me the Eagles. They look too for real right now. I'm gonna pass it to Logan with that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I touched on. I know I was texting you guys in the group chat. I saw a little Eagles hype video for a back-to-back. Got a little excited, carried away, had to hit the guys up. I'm not a Philly fan of any mean for any sport. Philadelphia has the worst fan base out of anybody. But how do you not like Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley? I mean, they're just very likable, and it's nice to see them do good, especially as humble as Jalen Hurts is. So yes, obviously, I think the pick is Eagles. I kind of agree with Tripp, and I kind of agree with you, Joey. I do think sell the Commander stock. I don't agree with selling Daniel stock. I think the Commanders take a step back, and I do think the Eagles run off of this division by far. However, I do kind of see a case where maybe the Cowboys are dead last in this division. I know it's preseason. Giants have a lot of little fun hype around them on social media right now. They got great quarterback room. They got great D-line, it looks like. I mean, I think the Giants could lose a lot of games, but I think they could lose a lot of close games. And I think they might be fun to watch for the first time in years in losing fashion. But I'm definitely going Eagles here. I think Commanders take a step back, and then Cowboys aren't worth speaking on.
Well, yeah. So Cowboys, we're gonna keep laughing at them. That's just how that's gonna go. So we're gonna wrap it up here with the West and the South. The West, this is kind of looks like another not AFC South level, but this kind of looks also horrible. Like when you look at these teams, like I'm sorry, Kyler Murray could have a Pro Bowl roster. I'm not buying into any team with him as leading them. I'm sorry.
I'm also a little bit worried about MHJ. Not to get on a deep dive on him either, but I think he still ended up with like 800 receiving yards last year. He didn't have a criminal rookie season, but he did put on like 25 pounds of muscle. And I don't think anybody was ever worried about him being too small. So it's like we were worried about you. We were worried about you getting separation, bro. We weren't worried about you getting, mugged on the line. So it's like, I guess if you getting hella Aki this offseason translates into you physically separating these defenders away from you when you getting open for these catches, so be it. But
respect, yeah.
I'm right there with you, Joey. This division, I think to the point that you're making, it's wide open though. It is wide open.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams. Now Matt Stafford's health is going to be a part of that. With him having the back issues. Assuming Jimmy G's backing him up. I'd love to see Stetson get some reps, but obviously Jimmy G's probably going to take those reps before him. But just got Devontae Adams. Obviously lost Cooper Kupp. Still have Puka. So I think there's a lot of weapons around there. I love that defense, dude. I think Jared Verse is a monster. We're going to see him have a really big year. I'm taking the Rams. Honestly, I think the Seahawks could finish above the Niners. The Niners have too much going on. I sold my Brock Purdy stock a long time ago, and I sold it at the right time because that plummeted. Seahawks, I don't know if Sam Darnold's year last year was a product of McConnell and is an anomaly, but I think they could be better, especially with adding Cooper Kupp in there. It seemed like there was a lot of locker room issues with DK, right, wrong, or indifferent. It seemed like that just didn't mesh super well. But I'm taking Rams.
Yeah, I'll keep mine short and sweet. You hit every nail on the head that I was going to point out. I'm going Rams. I think a lot of that is going to be dependent on Matthew Stafford's health, so I don't think it's impossible that we see some of that other side of the quarterback room see some light this year. I hope for his sake that he stays healthy because I don't know how many years we have left with good old Matt. But yeah, I think that, like Graham said, this division is anybody's to take. I think I could very well see a world where Seattle takes off and has a fantastic year and ends up taking it. But I think if all the cards are right, I think it should be the Rams to lose. So I think this is one that we all circle back and could possibly be, looking at what we said now and being like, wow, I should be eating my words right now because it's completely opposite. But I'm going to go Rams here.
I think it's hard to deny the Rams in this one as well, only because as far as like a coach trust factor standpoint, I think they have the most from all of us on the panel with McVay. In regards to what's going on in San Francisco, a lot of very capable and talented players and coaches and personnel alike, even people in the front office, we know they're capable. We know what the Shanahans and the Kleins and, all of the other, people who have been integral members of their front office are capable of doing. But is this whole organization facing burnout right now? Is everyone burnt out from constantly trusting Shanahan with player personnel decisions, with off-season decisions as far as who gets paid, who doesn't get paid, when that happens, and how all of those things correlate with personalities? X's and O's are fine. No one has ever questioned how capable Shanahan is with X's and O's. But how he manages players, how he manages personalities within that locker room, I think they are at a point where it's a boiling point. And the front office is going to have to make a decision as to when they're going to pivot off of that, because has this team hit its ceiling? I think it's safe to say we have got to that point. Now, am I sitting here saying that they're going to come in last or to a point to where they don't, get a wild card spot? Absolutely not. I got them coming in second, but it just seems like that wide receiver room in LA is just going to be too much to handle when it comes to facing them twice a year. It's just with these other teams in the division. I think having three guys who Stafford can dump that ball off to, on top of having a pretty solid running back room, give me the Rams as well. I'll steal y'all's picks.
Yeah, I'm going Rams as well, clearly because Sean McVay, you lose Cooper Kupp, but then you're replacing with Devontae Adams. So I think that's a pretty lateral move there. You got Nakua still. Matthew Stafford, when healthy, is still a dog. I do think the Niners just have a lot of question marks. You're talking about Purdy coming back from injury, Ayuk coming back from injury, Christian McCaffrey coming back from injury. And, it's just a lot of question marks there. I'm kind of with you, Graham, and it's kind of stagnant. It kind of feels like it's Shanahan might be wearing off there. And I still think he's a great coach. I think they have a great team. I could see a world where they put it together and they go right back to the Niners and they win 13 games and win the division. But it's just a lot of question marks. I think I'm leaning Rams here. But Seattle maybe makes a run. Who knows? Don't know. I do think, Joey, that Sam Darnold was a product of Kevin O'Connell. I don't think it's a Sam Darnold thing. I think one of us could play quarterback in that man's system. I think Kevin O'Connell is that good of an offensive coach, literally. But, he had Josh Dobbs looking good for weeks there, So I think Sam Darnold, not fully bought in on him, but I think it's going to be the Rams here. Cardinals, I don't think stand a chance. Maybe the Niners, all their question marks are answered and they make a run for it, but I just think there's too many of them. So,
yeah, clean sweep there. I don't trust Kyler Murray. Only place I trust Kyler Murray to lead me is in Verdansk, and we're landing in Storage Town. That's about it. That's the only place. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up.
I trust him to lead me to Pirates Bowl. He know how he look like he know how to eat a seafood bowl and order some hookah. He look like he's out here living in Atlanta like everybody else. He look like he doing the same shit we doing. He ain't out here catching the ball, man. Don't get me started with his ass.
I won't. All right, we're gonna wrap it up with my favorite part, of course, the NFC South. The Saints could be in the running for the worst team in the year of this league. And Cap Hell you would think in a season with Danny Dimes and AR-15 as a quarterback battle, you'd have the worst one. But nope, the Saints said, nope, hold my beer. Tyler Shook and Spencer Rattler. And new coach Kellen Moore, who I like Kellen Moore a lot. But there's going to be some growing pains there. I do think the Panthers and Falcons both take steps forward this year. I think Canales is a great coach in Carolina. Obviously, we talked about the Falcons' talent earlier. I want to pick the Falcons so bad. I really think they can. But the same logic we've been applying, I can't pick against them until they do it, is the Bucs. If y'all didn't know this, the Bucs are the only team, and this speaks to the conference more than anything, they're the only team since 2020 who's made the playoffs every year in the NFC. They're the only team.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And it's obviously because, the Falcons have gone 7-9 or 7-10, 8-9, all those times, of course. So it doesn't help anything. But so I'm Fortunately, rolling with the Bucks. I really hope they put me on, or they prove me wrong. Tripp and I look at our job, Mercedes-Benz, all the time, and I'm like, I can't wait till that place controls my happiness, and it begins this Saturday with that, or this Sunday with that team. So, yeah, pains me to say, I'm rolling with the Bucks.
Logan, take it first this time.
All right. Unfortunately, I'm rolling with the Bucks too. It would be sweet to see the Falcons do it, but the Falcons Falcon, that's what they do. I hate to say that, but
I hate that verb.
Until they prove us wrong, you know. But I think Bucky Irvin, Rashad White in the backfield solid for the Bucks. You got Baker Mayfield slinging it. The aura he possesses is crazy. Like Baker Mayfield is kind of in Tampa, reminds you of Oklahoma Baker Mayfield, which is the guy we fell in love with, but also hated when he played our teams. So with that being said, you got his college teammate Shepard down there now. You also got Mike Evans. Obviously, you'll get Chris Godwin back eventually. I think he's going to start on IR for the first 4 weeks, if I saw correctly. So, I mean, it's been the Bucs division. I hate to say that, but there is a world where you can see the Falcons, you know, winning a good bit of games. But it's, you know, living here for all these years, we all know Falcons do their thing. They choke. So it should be our division to win. I really think we have more talent, but I can't go against a team that has Bucky Irvin, Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You know, they really got a squad over there. And then I'm with you, Panthers. I think definitely show some improvement here. Bryce Young took a huge step once he took back over for Darnold last year. They got rid of Thielen, which is going to help some of their young receivers get more touches. I think Thielen going to Vikings was good for kind of both sides. It gives Carolina's wide receiver room to grow. They have some talent there. It's just about what they make of it. And as far as the Saints, yeah, Saints aren't even in the conversation. They might be the worst team in football. They're really at the bottom.
Not to cut anybody off, but I think for sure we're looking at the number 1 draft pick for next year's draft for sure in the Saints, I think.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty rough, but hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Falcons win it, but I'm going with the Bucs.
Tripp, take us away.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking I've picked a lot of favorites for divisions, and I'd be kind of, you know, going against my own word if I didn't pick Bucks here, but I'm gonna say screw it, give me the Falcons.
Yeah.
I think that with the draft, this is coming from a non-Falcons fan, so I'm allowed to say this. I think with the draft that they had last year, I think with a full season of Michael Penix, I think with Bijan Robinson in that backfield with Tyler Algier to back him up, Darnell Mooney, Drake London. I mean, there's just talent across the board for this team that I think that, you know, Kirk held them back a lot last year. You know, we hear about how he played through some injuries when he shouldn't have been. I think with good old Mike back there under center, I think that a lot of things are going to change for this team. And with the defense that the Falcons had last year, there's only room for growth. So as much as I'd like to say, you know, I'm a big Baker guy. I even loved him in college when, you know, a lot of people hated him. I love watching him at a professional level as well. Give me the Falcons, man. I'm going to roll with them this year.
Sorry, I'm looking around crazy. I'm trying to find looking for my Dirty Birds flag. I was going to wave it around when you said that, but I couldn't find it.
You can do the dance still.
I want to add one more thing as well. I do agree. Panthers, I think, are only on the rise from this point. I don't think they're in any position to win the division by any means, but I think they can only get better. And I would rather watch underwater welding competitions than watch the Saints play. So I think that they're, like Graham said, going to have the number 1 pick next year. I don't trust any team that has Spencer Rattler under center. I don't care who your head coach is or what defense you have. But I know that Joey, and I'm going to hold you to this, Joey, I'm going to call you out. You said Spencer Rattler is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I think you're sick in the head for that and you need help. But who knows? He could be. But I think that the Saints are missing a lot more pieces than a quarterback. So I think they could very well be worse than the Browns this year.
Graham, wrap us up. Pause.
So rather than taking maybe the more orthodox route as to explaining why I think the Saints are going to be the worst team in football this year, I'm gonna take an unorthodox route. And I think at the core of to why the Saints are going to be so trash this year is because head coaches are head coaches. and coordinators are coordinators. I think Kellen Moore will go on to be a great coordinator in this league. I think he'll probably end up being a cornerstone piece to maybe one or two teams that go on to win a Super Bowl potentially. I think he is a capable coordinator. He does not give me the impression of a guy who can lead a locker room and get players who are on all different sides of a contract, bro. You got vets on that team that were playing in Breeze's third contract in Cam Jordan and some of these veterans. But then you also got a quarterback position being fulfilled by a rookie that even the rookies don't believe in. Better yet, guys like Cam Jordan who are sitting here wondering, like, what did we gain from consistently going with this half win now, half rebuilding model that we've been talking about with the Steelers as well? It's like the Saints are like the Steelers, but they didn't have a good offseason like Logan was talking about. They had the worst offseason you could probably possibly have. So the Saints are bad all around, but I just don't, even with them being bad, I don't trust that Kellen Moore is going to be able to scruff them by the neck and pull them out of any type of bad position. So they'll continue sliding. In first place, I'm going to ride with the Falcons as well. It's fun to feel good about a team.
On that flag.
It's fun to feel good about a team. I think for the first time in a long time, for a bunch of reasons that y'all hit on, and some reasons that we'll go on to probably touch bases on later in the season. This team gives you reasons on both sides of the ball to feel optimistic about where things are headed. My biggest red flag with this team is actually y'all's head coach. I just need him to show me that he's going to be able to do the things like manage the clock well, make sure that y'all aren't heavily penalized, do the things that I saw Robert Saleh fail at. Robert Saleh was a coach who, not to, continue tying my own team back into it, but he really is a great, example point for something like this. You got a defensive head coach, just like, y'all's head coach is a defensive-minded head coach. Robert Saleh came from that great San Francisco defense. But did he vest too much into that defense? Did he consistently put too much into that defense to where, he didn't? There we go. Yeah. That Robert Saleh didn't put enough into his offense to where he could even score 20 points in a game because he built his defense up to where he kept teams to 18 points, but you couldn't even score 15. Just silly little shit like that. And then eventually it festered into being the most heavily penalized team in the league, being the team that leaves the most red zone points available up in the league. This is a coach in Robert Saleh that had great drafts. They got Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner one draft apart. Quinnen Williams one draft before that. Guys like Michael Carter-Williams as a good nickel slot corner in the 4th round from North Carolina. I'm talking about some really good, solid draft pieces. Breece Hall Duke has fallen. Oh, from Duke, pardon me. Yeah. But, I get Breece Hall has fallen off of a cliff. But for a minute there, he was looking like one of the, biggest steals in the draft, and we got him in the 2nd round. So you can put talent onto a roster and assemble good teams year in and year out. But I just need the Falcons head coach to show me this year that he's ready to take that next step as a coach. I want to see him win y'all 2 or 3 ball games because he outcoached his opponent, if you get what I'm saying. I'm still riding with the Falcons. They get my pick this week, but check with me week 8. I might do a complete 180. Who knows? We'll see.
Wow. 2 Falcons picks. 2 Falcons picks. I love it. Well, guys, we've been here for a while, so we really appreciate everybody who tuned in. We'll be back next week. Like I said, we'll normally be splitting this up. We just wanted to, make sure we got something out to you guys. So really appreciate everybody listening. Follow us on Instagram at _FansUnionPod. We'll be on YouTube. We'll have that posted. But we'll be back next week. We'll hopefully talk about how our teams didn't let us down. I'll give them a count of my first experience at Williams-Brice, and we'll go from there. So signing out, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Sir.
Fellas, I'll see y'all next week.